Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Here we are once again.
Yep.
Doing some shit.
Yeah. It's hot, too.
Yeah, well, it got up into the 90s today for the first time this year, I think.
Yeah, and upstairs here,
first time that I noticed.
even with the AC on, it was 74.
Which is...
I don't understand how it couldn't keep up
It was
with
cold in here earlier, but as the afternoon goes on, we keep the curtains shut and everything like that to try and keep it cool. But
this AC should have been able to keep it at 71.
Yeah, well...
I changed the filter. It wasn't frozen up.
Yeah, because it does get frozen up every now and then.
You
have to look in there and be like, oh, there's a big ice block.
It's not as bad since we got new stuff, but...
Yeah. But, I mean, like I said, you can turn the fan on if you want, but it's, one, it makes a lot of noise, and two, it just blows hair in my mouth. Like, my hair just blows in my mouth the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's real irritating. So, you know.
So tonight we're doing another family massacre. Family annihilator in a way, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Holy cow.
His whole family was kind of fucked up. His son was a killer too, but he did it a different way.
This shit is crazy.
He was a shitty-ass drunk, and... it's a southern family, man. And
yeah, South Carolina.
Yeah, and when you grow up in the South, you do kind of... We have like a southern aristocracy of wealthy people, and they're in these little small towns. And, like Laurel, Mississippi used to have them, where I was growing up. And you had some people in there that maybe made $500,000 a year or $1 million a year. Well, in a town like that, you're fucking loaded. They got big fucking...
Yeah, and that was the case with this family.
Yeah, they have whole manors, fucking mansions with fucking fleet of cars, and they might have a private stable there with fucking 12 horses and fucking some Tennessee fucking race horses and shit, just whatever. Swimming pools. And they're barely a millionaire. But you wouldn't know by looking at them. And all the local officials know them, all the elected. They get people elected. They get fucking sheriffs elected. Everybody in the police knows them. They all go to school with all these people. They grew up with them. The old stereotype from fucking Dukes of Hazzard, Boss Hogg, has nothing on these dudes. They're basically feudal lords. The South kind of came from a situation that was kind of like Japanese feudalism, with the plantations and everything, and just the way the armies were raised in the Civil War. So there was kind of like a caste system, not quite as strong as India or anything, but a lot more like England in a way. Sharecroppers were kind of underneath slaves in a certain way, you know what I mean? And then there was people who were professionals, and it was just weird. It was weird by today's standards. Well, some of this shit still survives, and one of the things that still survives are kind of like the power of very rich people in small towns in the South. And this is one of those families. I mean, the guy was a lawyer.
Well, and he came from
money.
Generations of lawyers. They had run the law firm that he was a partner in, had been around, was started by his great-grandfather, his great-great-grandfather, I can't remember, and it had been around for more than a century.
Yeah.
And they were essentially, everybody knew them. Everybody knew this family. And the crazy thing about it is that I think somebody recommended this case like a long time ago, and I'd kind of heard about it, peripherally. It's crazy because this was not that long ago. I mean, the murder happened in 2021, so it wasn't that long ago, but it was huge news, and it was all over the place, and there was all kind of shit about it, and I didn't really follow it, so I was just kind of like, the dude, he's been convicted now, so I can say that he's technically not a family annihilator because he shot his wife and son, but he's had another son that he didn't shoot, so I guess technically that doesn't count. And I kind of knew about that, but until I started digging into it and watching the bajillion documentaries about this, I didn't realize how fucking sprawling and crazy this story is, and how much other members of his family were involved, and just it's insane. I mean, you can see why there's at least, and it might be more than this, there's at least 3 documentaries about this, a documentary series. There's one on HBO Max, which is called Murdaugh Murders. I think it's called Deadly Dynasty. That one is actually slightly older. That came out in 2022, and that actually came out before he was convicted of the murders, so they still classify the murders as unsolved. There was another one on HBO Max called Low Country, which I didn't get to watch. That's the part of South Carolina that they're from. And then there's a 5-part one on Netflix that came out in 2023, I think. That's the most recent one. And there was also a made-for-TV movie, I think it was a Lifetime movie, about this as well, but I can't remember what year it came out. And there's like a million YouTube videos about it too. So I didn't realize how, until I watched the Netflix one first. Until I watched that, I didn't realize how fucking much... You know what I mean? How I'm gonna try and do it justice, but it's very complicated and there's a lot of tendrils, and a lot of shit went on. I tried to kind of compress it, so it wouldn't be like 6 hours long.
It's a good demonstration of what I was talking about earlier about in the South. There are certain people that are almost above the law.
These guys definitely were for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, spoiler alert. Not anymore.
Yeah, you really gotta fuck up to get in trouble, and sometimes you're gonna have to get outsiders to get them. FBI, state police, state level stuff.
Someone that's not under their thrall.
Someone's not in their local. No, some of the people that aren't in their immediate circles, they'll own the town, the city, or the county that they're in. Sometimes at a financial level, sometimes at a genetic level. They're just interbred with everybody. It's like a mafia. So you have to fucking get them at the state level. State troopers can come in, state investigators, or sometimes just federal people, depending on what they've done. And these people were killing people. You're kind of getting away with it. Sometimes by accident. And still getting away with it. But this guy fucking killed a bunch of people. Oh, he got so big to his britches, he just decided he was just going to kill his family.
Yeah.
It was wild. Yeah. Because they'd fucking... His life was falling apart, so he just decided, fuck him.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure what he was thinking. I mean, okay, so...
Well, they're definitely psychopaths.
Well, he was becoming... honestly, and a bunch of the documentaries I saw, said this. They're like, they never saw somebody fall from grace, as quickly as this dude did. His whole life, entirely, collapsed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all of his own doing. I'm not saying that it was outside forces. He fucked up his own life. But the thing about it is that I'm not really entirely sure what he was thinking, what made him kill his family. I have some speculations. People have speculations about why he did it. I don't know, but I don't know. He's never admitted it. So, there's no insight there. Yeah. And, he had opioid addiction. So he was probably good, but it seemed like he was getting more and more unhinged, which, like I said, even after the murders happened and everything like that, he even did this crazy scheme later, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
It got crazier and crazier. Yeah. Cause I said, I didn't know all the details. I was like, oh yeah, didn't he shoot his family or something like that? And I was like, wasn't he some big muckety muck? And that was all I remembered. So I'm watching the Netflix show and I'm just like, this is just getting more and more insane, as the time goes on. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. And, growing up in the summers in Laurel, Mississippi, some of my dad's friends, I hung out with all their kids. We were the same age. And we all called each other cousins because, in the South, everybody, your dad's best friend's children, you kind of consider them your cousins. Well, a lot of my cousins were like this because they helped run Laurel. They owned a lot of the infrastructure and shit. You know what I mean? Fucking all the hydraulic repair places and welding shops, and they were connected in with the fucking city government and the police, and then the children of the local bankers were related in with them. So you could get wild, man. That was one of the reasons why we could burn down the forest and do the shit that we were doing, is because our families had been there for generations, and they were, you know what I mean? Everybody knew everybody. So the ramifications aren't the same when you're kind of in a generational town like that. Yeah, you burned down a big fucking empty lot with a bunch of trees in it. Nobody got hurt, and I don't care. You know what I mean? There's not going to be an arson investigation. You were underage anyway. It's just, hey, it happens to kids. You know, your brother did that kind of shit too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Accidentally setting fire to shit. We were playing with gasoline. But a lot of it had you. If you were poor, you couldn't do that though.
Well, you can't get away with shit.
You can't get away with shit then, especially if you did it on somebody else's
even
property.
if you do something like fucking minor, or even if you didn't do it, even if they just think you did it and you looked at them funny.
Yeah, another thing is that if you weren't from there, let's say they could just look at you and tell you came from the other side of the tracks. You were gonna say, "What are you doing over here?" You go back to where you belong. It's like that.
Yeah.
So.
And clearly, as we can see from this case, that was still a big thing. Like I said, finally, this dude got held accountable for not just the murders, but possibly covering up other shit, like a bajillion financial crimes. That was a lot of what he got charged for, too, like alongside the murders. Like, he got a lot of time for that. Just defrauding people, like, in the worst way possible, because he was a lawyer, right? And he had this big firm, which, you know, I'll get into a little bit of that. And what he was doing was he was basically taking on cases like personal injury type stuff. You know, like somebody that got hurt at work or something like that, and they're suing the company they work for, like, to get medical expenses or whatever. And he would help these people, and then he would take the money.
Yeah.
And he put it, like, in his own, he had, like, all these shell accounts and all this other kind of shit. And the people would be like, well, aren't I supposed to get, like, where's my money? Oh, just wait, it's coming. And he did that over and over. So he's, like, taking advantage of, like, vulnerable people that came to him for help.
Yeah.
And, like, just taking millions and millions of dollars. And I was just like, I mean, obviously what he did, like, shooting his family, that's shitty. Yeah. But it's like, this is also super shitty. Like, just taking advantage of people with no money.
Yeah.
Who got hurt. You know, who got injured and couldn't get, you know, compensation for it, and he said he would help them, and then he fucked them over.
It's it's funny though, you know, when you see them, they look like jocks and yuppies and preppies, you know, wearing Izod shirts and polo shirts, man. And everything they have looks.
They all look like this motherfucker.
They all look like little prep school kids, and fucking they kind of. In some ways, look like preachers to me. They always look a little bit like too clean cut, real clean. But they're rednecks. They're just an elite redneck, and they don't have real strong Southern accents. Usually, the wives do. And it's a slightly different. It's kind of a smoother accent. It's they use a lot better grammar, but they use still a lot of Southern expressions. An outsider probably really wouldn't know the difference, but Southerners can understand the differences in the class system. I hate to call it a class system.
That's what it is, though.
But that's what it is. Yeah, we know the class system better than outsiders. So
Americans are so weird. Like they won't admit that there's a class system, but there totally is.
Yeah, especially the South.
I don't know why I don't know why people think there isn't.
The South has. For hundreds of years, has had a very strong class system.
Yeah.
There's mobility in it, though. The Southern aristocracy, a lot of times they have roots either in the North, which they don't want to talk about, or they have roots in fucking sharecroppers, which are at the bottom of the barrel. Sharecroppers and fucking, then they become professional farmers and then professionals that work in town, you know, which they might have been clockmakers or coach makers or furniture makers, and then eventually architects and engineers, and you know, we're in the modern era now, you know, so now they can write code, you know, they're not stupid, but they're Southern. They have that same culture.
Yeah,
which I like it. To me, it's normal. To other people, you know, they would probably not really understand it, or just might think it's kind of backwards, but it's just kind of old fashioned, and it's probably like something from England or Scotland, you know, that type of system, like a class system.
Well, like I said, it's not great because you're gonna have like a tiny percent, like these motherfuckers, this family had all this money, and it
becomes mafia.
And they allegedly did some shit and got away with it for fucking decades.
Yeah, but so does the
British... And it all got covered up.
So does the British
aristocracy. Yeah, but that doesn't make it right.
So does the British aristocracy and their royal
Like, look, you're just a normal ass human being.
Not
you know, you eat, you take a shit,
not in their
you
minds.
die, just like everybody else, just like us peons.
Yeah, not in their minds.
And, well, I know that.
Yeah.
But they're wrong.
Yeah. They don't care.
You're just wrong.
They don't care about wrong. They care about being on top.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
I know that. I'm just saying that it's like, it's just, you know, you're just made of meat like the rest of us, all right? Same shit's going to happen to you.
The way they see it
end.
is that it would be wrong that they were at the same level as you.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I don't deserve to be the same level as you.
Yeah, like I said, very elitist.
I got money, you don't.
Very elitist.
I have power, you don't.
Which I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that
Southerners
attitude.
in general don't like that.
Yeah.
These are our aristocrats that we're talking about here.
Well, and the thing about it, like I said, I guess I couldn't really get a sense. I guess, like, in a lot of the documentaries, they talk to, like, some locals and things like that just to kind of get some context and some background about what this family was like. And everybody was kind of like, nobody wanted to say, oh, they were all pieces of shit or everyone hated them. But everybody had the assumption that even if they did bad shit, they were going to get away with it. And it seemed like people were, like, not okay with it, but they were just kind of like, what are you going to do? You know, it's kind of, they had that kind of defeatist sort of attitude about it. And it amazes me that, it doesn't really amaze me. I'm just saying that it took so long for any of them to be held accountable for, like, shit that they did. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people that said that they were surprised when, you know, the boat crash, which if you know about the case, like, you'll know about that, which happened in 2019, when actually, you know, the son, like, got in trouble for that, everyone was kind of shocked because they were like, oh, we thought they were going to sweep that under the rug like they usually do. And the fact that they didn't, I mean, they did slightly sweep because he did get some special treatment. But I think people were surprised that he was actually maybe going to get punished for it because that hadn't really happened before. With the implication, even though a lot of people wouldn't say it, because I think, you know, some of the family was still around and they were like, well, we don't want to get in trouble. But I felt like the implication was, well, there was other shit that they did that they got away with that nobody wanted to talk about because they didn't want to get sued. They're all fucking lawyers, you know what I mean?
Yeah. A lot of the regulars are here. Even Sess is here from Australia. What's up, Sess? Sess is talking about one day he's coming to visit us with her son so we can take him to damn Disney.
Yeah.
But he's only 5. That'd be a great thing.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Well, it's fun when the kids are young enough to, like, enjoy it. Yeah. I'm thinking about maybe, because my sister is coming down next week. Well, she's coming down Saturday and then, you know, being at my mom's house for Mother's Day because I'm going to go see my mom for Mother's Day. And then she's doing some of the parks next week. And I'm thinking about maybe going to Hollywood Studios next Friday.
All right. Yeah.
But I'm not sure yet because I haven't been there for like a billion years, and she's like, "Oh, it's totally different. Like it's way better."
Jen's sister is like, she's like one of those Disney adults. She gets all these damn passes and shit, and saves up money to go to all the theme parks.
Yeah, a couple times a year. She lives in Atlanta, so she usually it's just like a 6-hour drive. So she just drives down.
I don't like the Magic Kingdom that much. I've been going to that shit since I was a little kid. I'm fucking sick of it. But I did like Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, Animal Kingdom.
And they got a bunch of different theme parks. I didn't realize the other theme parks were as big or bigger than the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they were that big. So I was always talking shit about the Magic Kingdom. But the other Disney parks are fucking really good. I haven't seen Epcot.
I went to Epcot with my brother and my sister like last year or the year before.
Was it all right?
Yeah. We didn't go the whole day. We just went over there from Disney.
Yeah.
That was when my brother got me like a park hopper pass for free.
Yeah.
Because he used to work there. And we just mostly went over there to go on Guardians of the Galaxy and like do a couple other things.
A couple years back, the one that really impressed me was Universal Studios. They had roller coasters that were really good. And they've opened up, they had a Harry Potter section that really impressed me. And evidently that's even better than it was now. And they opened up a Mario world all based on Mario. That's fucking great.
That's Universal. That's that new that 5-world park.
And it's a whole, each little
Legos,
world
it's
is an
Universal
entire
Monsters, it's Harry Potter.
If you had a couple grand, you could spend a month here and see all that shit.
Yeah, because there's a lot of shit like that.
There's a lot of shit. And it's like all these different theme parks, and each one of them is totally different, and they're very high end. That Disney Animal Kingdom was fantastic. You Go
Yeah, I
through
love
live
that.
animals.
That's my sister's favorite out of all the
it's
parks,
good.
actually.
It had rides too.
Yeah, they
Going
got
through time to see dinosaurs and shit and fucking things kind of like Splash Mountain. They had that. They had one. It was a really good virtual ride where based on Avatar. Where
they have a whole Avatar land in there.
And man, that thing, it simulates you flying on a dragon, and it's flying around through this alien world, and it felt every bit as cool as flying on a fucking UH-1 Huey, nap of the Earth, during a fucking air assault in Korea over the mountains and shit. I really did feel like I was flying, and it was a huge 360 bubble. I had to lean over to see what was going on, and I was in a theater. Because you couldn't see it opened up in front of you. It's a really good illusion.
Yeah, and it's like
it looks full size,
concave,
man.
Concave.
Yeah, and wind blowing on you, and you feel the dragon breathing underneath you, but it's just all mechanical.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, you're kind of under the impression
it
that
fools your brain.
Fools your brain into thinking that you're riding on a fucking four-winged fucking dragon.
Gramther says, will they stay at the motel in the Florida project? No.
Yeah, no.
She pretty much always stays on Disney property. I can't remember. She's staying in 2 different hotels this one. I can't remember the first one she's staying at, like, for the first 2 or 3 days, but then she's moving to the Coronado for the last couple days because it's more expensive, but she wanted to stay at that one for at least one day.
All that Disney and Universal related shit is gorgeous. It's all high end.
She likes to stay on the property because it's much easier to get around.
Yeah.
She's renting a car to drive down, but then she just parks it at the hotel and then just takes buses and shit everywhere, so she doesn't have to drive. But I mean, I will say that about Disney.
And it runs like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, once you get, like, they do every single thing for you. Everything.
I mean, they tell you where to park. They tell you to get out of your car. They tell you to walk. They tell you to get in the tram. They tell you it's just, you in and out of that park. It's just
they
like,
bring shit to your hotel. Like, my
it's like a
mom stayed with my
machine.
sister, and they brought, because my mom, she has a metal in her leg, and she can't walk for that long. So they brought a scooter to their hotel and, like, helped her get in it.
There's
an
entire army helping you in and out, and helping you from one place to another. It's just...
They take you everywhere. There's rides everywhere.
As an ex-military man, it is a fucking amazing example of fucking organization. And fucking, it's...
Yeah, they are completely
exactly what they're doing.
1,000% dedicated to, like, making sure... that you have the best possible experience.
Yeah, and there is no chaos.
I mean, obviously, sometimes, like, little shit happens, but it's just kind of like they have it really, really locked down, like, in a way that's very impressive.
And that Animal Kingdom, man, fucking went in there, like, what the hell's going on here? And next thing I'm in a bird show, and the birds are flying over, and, man, it was a fucking beautiful show. People standing up, and the birds flying in between their hands, and it's just, everything is well-oiled and very slick. It's just everything. It's a modern marvel. Those
they have their shit together.
They know exactly what they're doing.
They have their shit together, I will say.
Yeah.
So it's if you have the money, it's very expensive. But it's like if you have the money, like I can see why people do it because you're just in. They call it the Disney bubble.
Yeah.
You go in the bubble and everything is just done for you, and everything you feel like you're in this other magical world.
It is a utopian American vision. And they even have their own neighborhoods. If you like to feel that way, there's a neighborhood you can move to and you can live like that. It's called, what's it called? Celebration. Even the cops show up and they got fucking Mickey Mouse on them. They're real cops. They got guns. They'll kill you. They're keeping that place fucking wrapped up safe.
I don't know if they've killed anybody in Celebration, but...
Oh, no.
I mean, maybe they have.
They've arrested people.
Well, yeah, they arrested
They got
people.
guns and shit.
I know
if you went in there like a terrorist or something, no, they'd kill you.
Well, no, I said I don't think they've killed anyone in Celebration so far.
Well, Celebration's pretty safe. It's a utopia.
I mean, I could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
Camp Guy says, don't they have a complete Harry Potter theme park? So there's a Harry Potter land in the original Universal Studios, which we have been to.
And it's amazing.
And then there's and it's pretty cool.
It's amazing,
and then there's like a new park, a new Universal park, and it has 5 different worlds, and one of them is Harry Potter. One of them is is it Lego?
Legos, I think.
One is Mario World. One is Dark Universe, like Universal Monsters.
Yeah.
And I think there's another one, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just 4. I don't remember.
And really, from what I've seen so far, I'd recommend fucking Universal. Universal was very high tech.
Yeah,
it
we haven't
looked
been.
Great, man.
We haven't been in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't been in a while, but And although I'm not a big fan of Disney, but I did like fucking Animal Kingdom.
Well, yeah,
Animal
that's why
Kingdom
I told my
was really
sister
good.
because she said she was going to
Yeah.
Hollywood Studios on Friday, and I was like, oh, I haven't been to Hollywood Studios since it was MGM, like when I was a teenager. And she's like, yeah, it's totally different now. I think they still have some of the same rides, like they still have the Tower of Terror, which is rad, but a lot of the stuff has changed. So she's like, yeah, it's totally different. It's pretty good. So she's gonna be there Friday. So
I liked Universal because Universal was a little more adult. It was action rides, thrill rides, hot chicks dressed up as fucking Marvel heroes. A little more adult. The Magic Kingdom's for kids. It's fun if you're an adult with a kid, but it's for kids. But Animal Kingdom was for adults. An adult can have a good time at Animal Kingdom. It's a zoo. There's live animals.
It's like
in
a
there.
safari.
It's a zoo safari. You're driving through there. You got lions. You got gorillas. You got fucking giraffes and
rhinos.
And there are all these different kind of
hippos,
rides and bird shows.
Crocodiles.
The good restaurants.
Yeah, they do have some good restaurants in there.
The restaurant was an outer space restaurant from a Pandora restaurant from
Avatar.
From what?
Avatar.
I mean, it was just regular food, but it was mixed like it was from another planet. It kind of tasted Mexican to me. Beans and salad and meat.
Yeah, they were just kind of like bowls.
But the bowls with stuff in it. But they were talking about it like it was from another planet.
Well, yeah, like I said, they're very committed to theming.
Yeah, it was themed.
Which I like. I like that.
Right.
Like, everything is themed. It's supposed to be as immersive as possible.
Yeah.
Which I like that. I think
and
that's
you're in there
really
eating,
cool.
and you look like you're in a damn fucking weird fucking underground tent facility with alien shit going on, and yeah, it's cool. You'd be on LSD, you'd believe it. Man, we're in an alien planet.
You know what's funny? Like when we went to Disney with my mom and Tom and all my siblings, we were in the Tiki Birds show because my mom was like, "Oh, I want to see it. I haven't seen it for like years and years." So we went in there to watch the Tiki Bird show, which I remember from when I was a kid. And me and Tom were like, "Oh my god, it'd be incredible to like be tripping balls in here." And my brother's like, "It is."
Yeah. Your brother did it. He did, yeah.
Him and his friend got really high on stage.
Statues in the
He's
walls,
like, it was awesome.
All the Polynesian statues in the walls singing with their eyes looking at you and shit, and they're doing a fucking...
I thought that was so funny.
Being scary
because I just said, man, it'd be so cool to like take LSD and come in here. And he's like, yeah, it is awesome.
Yeah, robot birds singing and talking and shit.
I was like, oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that sounds like something my brother would do. Grefter says, my wife and 2 kids spent 4 days at Disney and Universal a few years back. Credit card bill was $7,000. Oh, yeah, that's about right. I mean, 4 days and you have kids.
Between Disney and Universal, what did you guys like the best? Did you like Universal better? I think you probably like Universal. I don't know.
I guess it depends on...
Yeah, you're going to spend money for that a family that size? Hell yeah.
Yeah, even the tickets are like almost $200 each, depending on which day you go.
Yeah.
Like Florida residents usually get like when I looked it up, I think the tickets for Florida residents for Hollywood Studios are $120 each, but
we can get breaks because we're locals on certain days.
Yeah. If you show your driver's license and show that you live in Florida, you can usually get like a substantial chunk off. Yeah. And you still got to pay to park though, and I think that's like $20 or $30 now.
Yeah.
And it's not as expensive to eat in there as depending on where you eat. Like it's about
the same.
It's about the same as like a restaurant.
$20
outside.
a meal, more like $25.
Yeah, it's about the same as what we would pay, at another place. But but yeah, everything else is. But yeah, having kids because that's gonna be like a lot more expensive. And obviously, if you're staying in a hotel, that's gonna add like a huge. I mean, we're only in like 50 minutes away.
There's no alcohol in there. You could probably get a beer. Downtown Disney, you can get mixed drinks, but they're expensive.
Well, the other well, wait a minute. Yeah, there's where did I drink?
You couldn't get drunk in fucking the Magic
Kingdom. Okay, well,
Cody.
Epcot you can.
And Epcot you could? All right.
Well, Epcot has a whole thing drinking around the world.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we because my brother was like, yeah, we go in like the Mexico Pavilion and like get fucking margaritas and shit. But yeah, you can drink in every country. So they have a thing for drunk people. You can just go in there and go to each country pavilion and get a few drinks in each one. So they absolutely have alcohol and they have alcohol at Animal Kingdom too.
Horror fan from the UK has asked me if I'm going to watch the new Masters of the Universe movie. I'd have to see if it's any good. I didn't like He-Man, even to begin with. I'm too old for He-Man. When He-Man came out, I was already a teenager. If you were to take Conan, which I like Conan, and clean him up and make him fucking PG or make him fucking, like a nice guy, you have He-Man. That's actually what they did. So, he's kind of too much of a cleaned up Conan. A new Conan's supposed to be coming out. I'm going to see how bad they're going to fuck that up. And Arnie will probably be in it. Conan has to be R-rated. If it's not R-rated, it's not real Robert E. Howard Conan. Conan was spicy. He was a barbarian.
All right. So I feel like we should probably start this, or I'm never
everybody's here.
Ever going to get through it. Because like I said, it's... I'm going to try and do it justice. It's very complicated, and there's a lot of moving parts. Like I said, I try to distill all of it down, so I'm not going to get like super mired down to the details and shit like that. So, just like I said, as a brief kind of background. So, okay, one thing that kind of confused me is that the dude's name is very clearly spelled Alex Murdaugh. That's how you would usually pronounce that, with A-U-G-H. But 90% of the people that I saw in the documentary that knew him and all this other kind of shit pronounced his name as Alec Murdaugh. Like with a heart. Oop, I hear a cat throwing up.
Yeah, that's a cat throwing up.
I hear it. Uh-oh, somebody's throwing up. Yeah. So I don't really know. I did hear some people pronounce it Murdaugh, but most people that were from there or knew him like pronounced it Murdaugh. Not with that hard, but like more Murdoch, like that. And I don't know why they were calling him Alec when he clearly spells it Alex. I'm not really sure.
What's up, you okay?
But whatever.
Okay.
She all right?
Yeah, it was
who?
She was in the windowsill.
Yeah, she'll do that.
She was in it, but she wasn't throwing.
No, she doesn't usually.
She's trying to
she just like coughs and gags,
She was
and then
coughing up a hairball.
And then usually nothing comes up.
Yeah, she was coughing.
She does that every now and then, like once every couple weeks or something. So it's like I was like, what is that noise? I could hear the dryer running, and then I heard.
She was coughing.
I was like, what's that other noise? And then I figured I was like, oh, that's the cat throw up noise.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm not really sure like why it's spelled Alex Murdaugh when people were pronouncing it Alec Murdoch. I don't know. Whatever. So, like I said, this all takes place in the Low Country, which is an area of South Carolina. Now, I would call this family a dynasty for sure. So they started a law firm in 1910. And eventually, this law firm grew into, and I think it's kind of funny because it was started by like, I think Randolph Murdaugh Sr. and eventually like just as him. And over the years, it grew into this massive law firm that was basically like covered most of the 14th Judicial Circuit, which is like 5 counties in South Carolina. And these 5 counties are generally referred to as Murdaugh Country. That's how kind of powerful they were. So this law firm, which it's not called this anymore, but for a long time it was called Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Eltroth, and Detrick, or PMPED was what it was called. And from about 1920 to 2006, there were 3 generations of Murdaughs. Randolph Murdaugh Sr., the one they called Buster, which is confusing because one of Alex's sons was also named Buster, but it's a different person, and Randolph III. They consecutively held the elected position of the circuit solicitor, which in that part of that's basically like a chief prosecutor, almost like a DA, but for some reason they call it the circuit solicitor in South Carolina. I don't know why. And this family, these generations of families served like 86, 87 years, and often when they were running for re-election were unopposed. So this was a very, very powerful family. And honestly, because they usually held positions of solicitors, that means that they had control over the cases that would get prosecuted in the area. So if they didn't want something prosecuted, it didn't get prosecuted, essentially. And also, they had a very prominent, like, personal injury practice. So, obviously, because this area is not real economically, I believe about 20% of the population live in poverty in this area. So if you have a family like this that's very powerful, very wealthy, obviously they're going to have like outsized power. Then, it's not like, it's like a big fish in a little pond kind of situation. Yeah. And they're going to have like way outsized power to maybe somebody that's like in a bigger city where there's like a lot more competition. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people kind of revered them, but also were kind of afraid of them, for obvious reasons. So by the time Alec Murdaugh came along, I feel like it had been around for like a century. It was really well established. Everybody knew how powerful the family was. Everybody knew who this family was. So Alec kind of, followed in his family's footsteps. He graduated from University of South Carolina, then went to law school, and then he joined at the firm and started focusing on personal injury cases. And because he was so successful, I mean, he was a millionaire many times over, and he had a whole bunch of different properties. Probably the most famous one, because this is where the shootings occurred, was called Moselle. And this was like essentially like a huge hunting estate. Like it had a big house on it, like these big kennels for like all the hunting dogs, like all of this property. It was 1,700 acres, some shit like that. And they also had a beach house like on this island and a bunch of other houses as well.
Yeah. Now, Jen said it's kind of like being a big fish in a little pond. It is in a certain way, but you can't... Money's not going to get you to buy into this circle of people. They've been here in the South for generations with power and prestige. The closest analogy I would say is if they were British, they would be in the House of Lords. You can't really buy your way into that. You know what I mean? It'd be something that you kind of inherited. Now, if you had a bunch of money and they were friends and they liked you, and you were funding a lot of their shit, then yeah, you'd fall in with them. And over time, yeah, you and your children would be considered at their level. This is very social. The power that these kind of people have. It's just, there's nothing else like it in the United States. That's the best way to describe. I would consider them. It's kind of like they're in the House of Lords. Minor royalty, nobility. They're nobility.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of phrasing it. Because, and like I said, obviously, once you have that much power and influence, like if you have the influence to basically say in these counties, we control who gets what cases get prosecuted. That's an enormous amount of power.
Yeah, and they also say we're going to decide who's going to run for office and who will probably win.
And they knew all the sheriffs, they knew all the judges, they knew all the... So they were very, very connected.
Yeah, when you control all the sheriffs, and that means you control local law enforcement. These are dudes with guns. Okay, sheriff and local law enforcement in the South. That's the knights. That's night class. Those are literally the knights. Okay, the FBI had a hard time getting them during the Mississippi burning era of all that shit that was going on. It's an ingrained culture that has its own societal order. It's just how it is here, and it probably won't really change. If it changes slowly over generations, which it has. It has changed. It's actually got a little bit better in certain ways. But it was mostly because of technology. It didn't have anything to do with anything else.
Yeah, and I think that, honestly, I feel like that kind of played a little bit, maybe a lot, of a factor in why shit finally started to get done about this. Like, there was definitely, like, an element of... we had cell phone records, we had this, that, and the other thing, which I feel like in the past you wouldn't really be able to prove it as easily.
No.
And I think that helped a lot. So I think definitely technology is kind of helping to slowly dismantle these kind of old boy kind of networks.
These are mafias.
Yeah. Which is good. I think that's good. But the thing about it is that as corrupt as Alec Murdaugh ended up being, I kind of feel like you don't get as powerful as this law firm got, like back through the generations, without doing some sketchy shit. And although none of his ancestors, father, grandfather, anybody like that, were ever really held accountable for anything, there were always rumors that there was favoritism, that they were doing some unethical shit, that they were doing shit that you wouldn't get away with probably nowadays, which I don't doubt. Because, like I said, you don't usually amass that much power without doing some sideways crap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Grandpa's saying up here north we have douchebags. They don't quite have this kind of power. Yeah, here they're running fiefdoms. This is very much kind of like a medieval lords.
Because, like I said, if you're the richest motherfucker in like a relatively poor area, you can you can just shit all over the. There's nothing they can do about it. You know what I mean?
All the cops and all. You got everybody's in your boss hog ain't got shit.
Everybody's in your pocket.
Yeah, everybody's in your pocket.
And everybody knows, like all the little peons at the bottom know it's like, hey, even if we saw that rich kid doing that, no, we didn't.
Yeah,
we're gonna get disappeared and thrown in a fucking swamp somewhere.
Yeah, and if you didn't see it, then you might get some money sent into your account, too. You're not dealing with them because they bribe people.
Yeah, that too.
And you're gonna get jobs, and you'll get all kinds. This is mafia activity. Now they're not all bad. Some of these people are good too. We're just talking about when it's abused. This is like when it's abused.
These people were
because a lot of people.
awful.
Most people in this class of Southerner are protecting their local environment and the heritage of it, and they care about who moves in their town and fucking how pretty it is. And that's kind of like in the little show that they show on television, fucking what is it? Hometown. Yeah, they care about their town and who's in there. And they want people to come in, they want money to come in, but they want their town to be pretty, and they want it to improve. That's a really good. You should see Hometown. It's good.
It is the most wholesome show on television.
Very, very wholesome. Yeah, most of these people are wholesome. These are bad ones.
Which normally, that's why it's funny. We just started watching it because we found out that it was set in Laurel, Mississippi. He found out about it when he was there.
My dad told me. Yeah.
And it had been on for like 8 seasons, and I don't really watch TV, so I hadn't heard of it. Yeah. And we were like, oh, we should watch that. And I was like, this is delightful. And normally I don't like wholesome shit. It just makes me want to throw up. But it's like, this is a good kind of wholesome. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's darling. It's just, it's so good.
Laurel, Mississippi is Mayberry. It's Mayberry. It's just an idea.
Well, and I think, like, the couple that do the shows are just cool. So endearing and genuine. Yeah. Like, they don't come across as douchebags or obnoxious in any way.
Would trip out. I'll see a house and go, oh, yeah.
That's what's their face.
That's Miss Key's house.
Like, I've been to that house.
Well, I lived in that house.
We watched one last week or the week before. Yeah. Because I watch them on HBO Max, like, the day after they air. And I think the one we watched a couple days ago, he's like, oh, I worked at that house.
I worked at that house, yeah.
It wasn't a house then, but it was something else.
It was an apartment building.
It was an apartment building.
He's like, beneath it was the shop where we were making all the metal ductwork for the air conditioning. That was William Whitman's apartment building.
Yeah. And I said, it said the Whitman house on it.
Yeah. Well, he didn't live in it. It was his apartment building. He owned that and
so he'd been to that house.
He lived into it for a couple years. Then he bought a house closer to where David Key and all those guys lived. So he had another, but I guess he sold that building. He's getting old, so
like a couple with kids owns it now, and they were just having their deck redone and shit like that.
But I worked in there for a couple years.
I thought that was so funny.
Making metal ductwork in the bottom.
But yeah, he recognizes like some of the houses and some of the family names on there. Like
and David Key's mama's house. Saw that. That was like the second episode. I was like, oh yeah, it's Peggy's house.
Yeah,
Peggy Key. Peggy Key was like my surrogate mama. She'd raise me for all the summers I go down there. And hanging out over her house with fucking, that was my best friend's, or that was my dad's best friend's wife. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'd hang out with David and shit and his mama fucking Peggy. Unfortunately, Peggy died of cancer. Yeah. Fucking, whatever.
Yeah. But it's a good show.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you don't, but I didn't watch TV, so I didn't see it. But if you have HBO Max, they put it up because I think it airs on Sunday night, so they usually put it up on Monday. You can usually watch it on Monday. That's where I watch it. So like I said, Alec Murdaugh joins his family's firm. It was also him, and there were other partners as well from other families, and it was him and his brother Randy were at the firm. And from the outside, at least, it seemed as though, like I said, he was very successful. He was very wealthy. He had multiple properties. He was married. He had a wife named Maggie, and they had 2 kids, Buster, who was the older one, and Paul, who was the younger one. And they were, grown. They were like, in their late teens, early 20s, like at the time that all this shit happened. So everything seemed idyllic. It wasn't, but from the outside. Until the night of February 23rd, 24th, 2019. This is a couple of years before the famous shooting, but I kind of feel like this was the point where everything kind of started unraveling because the public finally saw, like, underneath the veneer, I guess. So what happened was that about 5:30, 6:30 in the evening on February 23rd, Paul Murdaugh, who was the younger son, he was 19, and he took his dad's boat, which was a 17-footer. He takes it to Parker's convenience store, which was in Ridgeland, South Carolina, and used his older brother Buster's ID to buy alcohol, because obviously he's underage. So he did that. There's actually footage of him coming back out to the truck and going like, "Woo, I got it." Kind of, you know what I mean? So, just a heads up, Paul started drinking reportedly when he was 13 or 14 years old, and he was a bad drunk. Like a bad drunk. And everyone said he was a mean drunk too. They said actually he was all right most of the time, like when he was sober. But when he was drunk, he was so mean that like even his friends said that he almost went into like an alter ego, which they called Timmy. So like when he got real drunk and started acting like that, they'd be like, uh-oh, like here comes Timmy, or Timmy came out or something. And like in footage of him when he's real fucked up, like footage that they had like from before the boat crash and stuff, like you can see they said he used to do this weird thing with his hands. He would start doing this weird, like this kind of thing.
Yeah, he's releasing energy.
Yeah, and I was just kind of like, oh yeah, like look at that shit.
Yeah, do it like the emperor.
I mean, you could tell he was super fucked up, but they said, yeah, he was a real bad drunk. So he buys the alcohol with his brother's ID, because the thing about it was his brother was a couple years older, like I think 3 years older, and they looked just alike, like both gingers, both kind of not real great looking. I'm gonna say they're kind of funny looking. I know it's uncharitable, but they both reportedly did terrible things. So it's just going, well, Paul for sure did terrible things. Buster maybe did some terrible things, but that hasn't been proven. So I'm allegedly, just don't sue me. But yeah, but they did look a lot alike. So the group was comprised of Paul Murdaugh, his girlfriend, whose name is Morgan. There's extensive interviews with her on the Netflix documentary. She seemed like a lovely person. A girl named Mallory Beach, who was also 19, her boyfriend, Anthony Cook. And then there was another guy named Connor and his girlfriend, Miley. Like, they had all known each other for a real long time, and they all hung out together, right? So they were going to go to, they all got on the boat, and they were going to go to this oyster roast, which was like friends of the family were having it. And that's a big South Carolina thing. Like, it was still kind of cold out at this time of year. It was February. And they said, everybody, you go to, you take your boat to your friend's beach house or the house on the river or whatever, and you just like put some oysters on the thing and get drunk and like eat some oysters, you know what I mean? So it's like, so they were going to go do that. So while they were at the oyster roast, several other people that were there said, they were drinking a lot, especially Paul. And they left the party at about 11:30 or midnight, like somewhere in that area. And started taking the boat toward the waterfront in Beaufort. And at this point, Anthony, who was Mallory's boyfriend, he's at this point, he's like, man, like Paul's getting real kind of fucked up, and he was just really didn't think they should be taking the boat. But, you know, they weren't that drunk yet, I guess, so they kind of got talked into it. Now, evidently, they had a couple near misses while on the boat, but they got okay, and, like, Paul evidently wanted to stop and go to this dockside bar called Luther's. Now, Paul and Connor were like, they wanted to go, but the rest of the party were like, we don't really want to go. Like, I don't think it's a good idea. You don't really need to be drinking more. And they had some alcohol on the boat still. So, but of course, it's Paul's boat, or his dad's boat, rather, and he was driving, so he's like, well, we're going to do what I want. So they go to this bar, and there is security footage of them, Paul and Connor going into the bar. There's also footage of them in the bar. Paul Murdaugh is clearly very inebriated. He's kind of stumbling around. They went in there and did shots. The rest of the Anthony and the girls just went in this park and like sat on the swings and like waited for them. And then when Paul and Connor came out, like I said, Paul was clearly very drunk. And at this point, Anthony is just like, man, let me drive the boat. Like, you're too fucked up and everything like that. Paul's like, fuck off. It's my boat. I'm driving. And he was just not having it. And so they all get on the boat. And according to what they later said, Paul started getting very belligerent. You know, because the two other guys were kind of trying to take the wheel away from him because he was driving very erratically, like in circles and stuff. And they were like, come on, man. And he was getting like real, and he like took his shirt off. Like, I think he stripped down his boxer shorts for some reason, you know, because he was fucking wasted. And at one point, he reportedly slapped and spit on his girlfriend, which, nice. You know, I'd heard that he'd been abusive to her in the past, like, at least according to what she told other people.
Well, he has money and status. He can abuse
He
it,
can do what he wants.
She'll come back because he's a gateway into fucking living the high life in the fucking South. And like I said, these people are kind of like being part of the House of Lords.
Yeah, because she was actually kind of from a more working to middle class family.
Remember when I said the wives tend to have
beautiful girl, and I just felt so bad for her.
The wives tend to have southern, kind of stronger southern accents versus the husbands. The husbands kind of sound more like fucking preachers. Okay. And it's because they select the wives based on beauty. They don't need their income or their status. Yeah. So for them, it's a move up. And pretty girls in the South are going to see these guys as a good catch. I mean, the motherfuckers have mansions and fucking swimming pools and fucking multiple cars and motorcycles and horses and fucking hell yeah, the aircraft, you know, flying around and fucking Cessna airplanes and dual fucking propped airplanes, and they can go to all the country clubs and fucking they go on vacation. They can fly to Europe, you know. They're not as rich as a rich person in the North, but money goes a lot longer in the South. If you're a millionaire here, let's say you make $1 million a year here in the South, you live like you're making $10 million in California. You'd live like you were making $20 million in California, and you'd have a lot more social power because you have far fewer peers. You're now involved in local politics and government. Cops. The police force is your security force, basically. Think about it. They work for you. Like I said, Boss Hogg don't have nothing on these people.
Yeah. And one of the things that Morgan said in the documentary, in one of the documentaries, was that at a time prior to this, she and Paul had been in the car, and he had been drunk driving.
Yeah.
And they basically, like, I don't know if the car flipped or it went into a ditch. Like, they weren't hurt seriously or anything, but the car was kind of fucked up. And she said he didn't call the cop. Like, she went to call 911. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, don't he called his grandpa.
Yeah.
Who they called Handsome.
Yeah.
That was his nickname.
Grandpa Handsome.
He called Grandpa, and then he called his dad.
Yeah.
And then when they got there, they're like, you didn't call the cops, did you?
Yeah.
And they just covered it up. Like, the cops never came.
Yeah.
She's like, it was the craziest shit I ever saw. So yeah. So so he slaps his girlfriend and spits on her. Because like I said, at this point everyone's kind of arguing because he's clearly fucked up. He's like half naked at this point, and everyone's trying to get the wheel away from him. And he suddenly, because like I said, the boat had he had stopped the boat, I guess because they were all fighting, and then he just went over and like hit the throttle like all the way, and it was real foggy out there. Like visibility was really bad, and the water was real cold. Like I said, it was February, and essentially, so about 2:17 a.m. the morning of February 24th, they hit a bridge piling.
Yeah.
Like a concrete bridge, like high speed, like bam, like right into it. Now, I believe 3 of them were ejected, including Mallory and her boyfriend, Anthony. He was hanging on to her because he was terrified. Like, they were kind of laying down in the back, and he was like, holy shit, because the boat was going really fast. So when they hit, they both got thrown out. And she, I guess he lost her, like, in the water, like, she, went like that. And, what were you pointing out? Oh, I thought you were pointing at something.
No, I let the cat go.
Oh, okay. And, so a bunch of people were injured, like Morgan, I think it was Morgan, her hand got crushed between the boat and the piling. Like, I saw a picture that was pretty gross. Like, she actually needed surgery on her hand. It was all fucked up. Like, a lot of the skin was, like, all flayed off. Connor, actually, I think he might have been ejected, too, but he broke his jaw, and it, like, cut his lip open like that. He still has a scar, because they interviewed him on the later documentary. But, yeah. So, they all managed to get to the shore, and obviously, they have to call 911 at this point, because everyone's fucking injured, right? But Mallory is nowhere to be found. Anthony, her boyfriend, is flipping the fuck out, and he's just, like, swimming around, like, looking for her, and he can't find her. And there's recordings, because there's recordings when they called 911, and and there's recordings from like the police, the body cams or whatever. And it's heartbreaking, because Anthony is like, you can hear him yelling at Paul, because Paul was driving the boat. He's like, my girlfriend's gone, man. He's like, I hope you rot in fucking hell. Like, he was yelling at him like that.
Yeah.
And
no, he loved her.
Yeah, and he kept going back. And they said when the ambulances came, because Connor was the one that called, even though his fucking jaw was broken, and yet when you hear him on the call, he sounds like as calm as could be expected, like under this, under the circumstances. Yeah, they said his bottom teeth were like out in front of his front teeth. I was like, oh, he still has a scar, like right there.
It felt hot.
Yeah,
and he says like my teeth weren't right. They felt they were in front.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck, like.
Yeah,
like he thought it felt really weird.
Dude was fucked up, acting an ass, wanting to fucking ride the boat. Drunk as a fuck. They tried to fucking stop him.
Yeah, they say he was wasted.
Wrecks the boat, kills his fucking best friend's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And he's kind of laughing about it. He thought.
That was another thing too. Like you can hear Anthony saying, "It's like, why are you smiling? Like this is funny."
Yeah.
Like you could hear him yelling like in the back of the 911 call.
Yeah. So not everybody of this class is a shithead. It's just that motherfucker, this particular motherfucker was a shithead. Especially when he was drunk. And I was analyzing him, and the dude came from a fucking really rich family that just had it made. When you look at him, he's really not much to look at.
Yeah, like I guess he was kind of funny looking.
Yeah, and
that whole family was kind of funny looking.
Yeah, and like, what is the meaning of his life? This dude really doesn't have a big meaning to his life. Left to his own, this dude would be a bum. He just happens to have a dad that has a shit ton of money.
And power.
And usually how it goes, and most of the time, these families, the son never really lives up to the father. He kind of fucking goes back to the mean, and is like, ends up being a loser. And that's kind of, because he's walking in his dad's fucking footsteps, in his shadow.
And he had an older brother too.
Yeah.
That by most accounts was also kind of a piece of shit, but like allegedly.
It's why royalty doesn't work.
each generation kind of progressively becomes more of a piece of shit because they're not self-made men, and they have all this shit, and deep down they realize they kind of feel like they don't deserve it. And when they do get girlfriends, they go, well, she just loves me for my money.
Yeah.
And they're just, I'd love to have fucking super rich fucking parents. My parents were pretty wealthy, but they weren't. But in a way, I look at it to go like fucking, no, it's in a way, it's a curse. Because a lot of the guys that I knew that did have super rich, but they never really equaled the performance of their father. They were always a loser next to that bitch.
Well, because they didn't really have to do anything.
They didn't have to do anything, and even if they did have to do anything, they wouldn't equal what their dad did. Because a lot of times his dad made all that money because he was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, luck has an
luck had a lot to
amazing
do with
amount to do with, like,
Yeah.
not as much as hard work as...
Yeah.
Most of the hardworking people I know are poor as shit. So that is a myth.
Oh no, yeah, no, you don't become wealthy
Through hard work.
through hard work.
No. That is a myth.
It usually has to do with status, where you are,
Connections.
and certain connections, and fucking
Already having money.
how you
that's a big
leverage
help.
your social power to make sure certain things happen.
And luck plays a large
luck has a lot to do with
role,
it too. Yeah,
So,
power is mostly perceived. A lot of these guys make a lot of money because they have perceived power, because they're associated with other guys that have power and perceived power, and they know certain things are going to happen. And with that information, guys that have money can jump on board with them, and they can all make more money together. Yeah, fucking, if you got money, we can do this because I know my buddy's getting ready to fucking launch this new business. It's going to be, Now, it doesn't always work, but a lot of times it does.
Yeah. But so... Like I said, I kind of feel like Paul was, like, not really thinking this was a big deal. I mean, he was super, super fucked up, too. Like, everyone said he was just completely... Like, you could even see it in the footage, like, when he was leaving that bar. Like, after having all this, he was walking, but he was kind of like, you know what I mean? And they said he was just real fucking belligerent. So, yeah, he just runs the shit into this piling, and all of them got, thrown out. And Mallory is missing. The ambulances show up. The cops show up. Couldn't prevent it this time, I guess. Even though there's also body cam footage of the cops. Like, there's audio of Paul trying to borrow one of their cell phones. Hey, can I have your phone? Like, let me use your phone. And they're like, I don't have my phone. It's like, you dropped your phone over there.
Yeah.
Like he was going to call his dad or his grandpa is what he was going to try and do and try to mitigate the situation. But obviously it was too much for that, and Connor had already called 911. So everybody showed up. They took...
said that Hokum was a good.
Yeah, I've heard it was good. My friend Roxanne, who is my horror movie buddy, I saw her on Saturday night at the club, and she said she was going to see it on Sunday. So she's supposed to tell me if it was any good or not. But I don't think she has yet. I'll have to ask her. I forgot. I think her and Dr. Michael were going to see it. But yeah, I've been wanting... It's the same guy. It's Damian McCarthy, the same guy that made Caveat and Oddity, both of which I have reviewed, both of which are excellent if you haven't seen them. So I was like real excited about this. He's an Irish filmmaker. So yeah. So they take the injured parties away in the ambulance. Anthony, Mallory's boyfriend, refuses to go. He's like, I'm not going until they find her. They couldn't, it's the middle of the night. It's like 2 or 3 in the morning at this point, and it's super, super foggy. It's like they're trying to look for her, but they're not really having any luck, obviously. It's super dark. But he just wouldn't leave, and he just like stayed there all night. And so over the next few days, I kind of feel like everybody knew that she wasn't going to be found. You know what I mean? But I think, everybody, like most people in the town, came out to like help them look and shit like that.
She was eventually found, though, wasn't she?
She was found about like a little more than a week later. They found her body about 5 miles away. So
she must have just drifted away. She must have got knocked out on impact.
They think, there was some head trauma. That wasn't what killed her. She did drown.
Yeah.
So she was knocked unconscious and then just got pulled. The current was real strong.
Yeah.
Right there. So she just got pulled out in the current.
Hit the water unconscious and fucking drowned.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it was broad daylight, they probably could have found her and saved her.
They probably could, but like I said, it was the middle of the night and it was
Yeah.
really foggy. But yeah, they looked for her. I think it was for 8 days, and eventually found her body like 5 miles away.
She's
So-
a pretty girl too.
Yeah, I mean they all were like
Yeah.
all three of they all kind of
Yeah.
looked like that pretty blonde
Yeah.
19-year-old kind of stereotype.
Yeah.
They all kind of look like that. And they all seemed
Yeah.
like the two surviving ones that they had talking, where it seemed like really nice.
Yeah.
girls.
Southern women fucking good looking,
But-
especially in the higher classes.
Yeah,
Those
and-
dudes are snagging all the good looking girls.
yeah, and like I said, Morgan, Paul's girlfriend at the time,
Yeah.
she came from like more of a lower to middle class family.
It don't matter, man.
But,
They've got some.
But
Fucking
yeah,
good
I think the other one, Miley, I think she was kind of from a more
You-
wealthy family.
You can go to a trailer park and find fucking good looking girls here. That's where Epstein Island was finding them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the crazy shit. 1, police did not do a field sobriety test on Paul at the scene, even though they absolutely should have done that because he was clearly very drunk. That was one thing that was like really brought up a lot later on, like why? Because he told them what his name was, and they all seemed to recognize that name. They should have done a field sobriety test, and I mean, because like Anthony and Connor both said he was driving the boat. You know what I mean? So here's the crazy part. So they take the injured people to the hospital. They did eventually, 2 or 3 hours later, do a blood alcohol test on Paul, and it was 0.24 then. And that was several hours later, like at the hospital. Now, the Alec Murdaugh and his dad, Handsome, they showed up at the hospital because obviously Paul had called them. Also, the staff at the hospital said they had a hard time treating him because he was so drunk and so belligerent that he was just like saying crazy shit and doing crazy shit. They couldn't get him to like fucking, and there's pictures of him, like he was just in his boxer shorts because like I said, he'd taken his fucking clothes off in the boat. And he had like little EKG shit like all over his chest, and he's like, and you could tell just from his face that he's completely hammered, and he's just like he just looks like that. You know what I mean? It's fucking crazy. He's all red.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It
And
dude's a shitbag.
he actually wasn't even hurt that bad. Like you can see like little scratches and shit, but of course, I guess because he was drunk and floppy, like he didn't get hurt as bad as the other people did. But yeah, so his dad and grandpa show up, and they start going into the rooms where the other people are being treated, basically saying, we're going to take care of this. We're going to represent you. We're going to do this and that and the other thing. And basically, Morgan, Paul's girlfriend, said, don't let Alec in here. Like, so she told the staff to keep him out because she knew something was up, right? And they were essentially trying to, from what they later said and from what like some staff like overheard, they were essentially trying to get everyone on the same page to say that Paul was not driving the boat. They were trying to pin it on Connor, the guy who had called 911. Is what they were trying to do. So they were trying to get everyone on board with that narrative.
That's the one
but
whose girlfriend died, right?
no, that was Anthony.
Okay, all right. Which one was Connor?
Connor was the guy with his jaw broken.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Miley was his girlfriend.
All right.
And she was on the documentary too. And she was like Mallory's best friend. And
So that's some slimy bastards.
yeah, so they were
Totally,
basically in a way that was trying to like not. It was kind of like the shit they were saying was not like, we're not saying that you should say that Connor did it, but they go up to Connor and say just like, we got you, man. You know, we'll take care of this, all this other kind of shit.
They're gonna pay him
And trying to like low key, like get Connor to like take the
take the what are
blame.
they gonna, they're gonna pay him after if he takes
or
it?
something. Like, and he's like, bitch, I was not driving the boat. You know what I mean? And honestly, like the evidence later on actually showed that Connor could not have been driving the boat just from the trajectory, like how he was thrown out and everything like that. That he was obviously a
He was not
passenger.
piloting the boat.
No, Paul was definitely, and everyone said that despite what Alec and them tried to do. Everybody said no, Paul was driving the boat, and he was super fucked up, and we were trying to get him to not drive the boat, and he was being really abusive and not letting us drive the boat, even though we knew he shouldn't have been driving the boat. So, after Mallory was found dead, her family filed a wrongful death lawsuit. This was in March of 2019. And they sued Paul Murdaugh, Alec Murdaugh, Maggie. They sued the whole family, pretty much, Maggie and Buster. And they also sued the convenience store that had sold Paul the alcohol because he had used a fake ID and they didn't catch it. Which, you know, fair. So at this stage, I think this is kind of where the whole family thing started to fall apart, because it became pretty clear early on that the family was trying to cover shit up. They were trying to make it seem as though Paul hadn't been driving the boat, and everybody's like, oh, he's going to get away with this shit. And people are like, yeah, he's probably got away with all kind of shit before because his family just, like, got him out of all these jams. And, like, but, you know, fair play, like, to the other people on the boat. They were like, no, he was driving the boat. You know, we're not going to fucking lie.
And all this fucking shit is totally contrary to fucking Southern culture. You're never supposed to blame other people for shit that you did. That's weaselly shit. You're always supposed to take. Yeah, we're an honor culture. You're always supposed to take responsibility. If you did that shit, you gotta fall for it. You gotta save all your friends. I did it. No, these motherfuckers have no honor. No, zero honor.
And I think people finally were just kind of like, I think they had suspected that Paul and maybe allegedly even Buster had got, which I'll get into later, had got away with some shit before, and it got covered up. Everyone was just kind of like, oh, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Shit happens. They're rich. But this was so egregious. Yeah. And a girl died, and she was fucking 19, and everybody knew her, and it's just kind of like, that's fucked up. That didn't have to happen. And then the fact that they came in and so blatantly tried to blame it on somebody else or tried to make it seem like...
Yeah, that's not gonna fly.
I think people started getting like, oh, this is okay.
Yeah, that's not gonna fly in Southern culture. It's too despicable. It
is despicable.
It's too despicable. You can't do that.
You know?
You can't do it in Southern culture.
And also, like, good for fucking Mallory's family for suing every fucking one of them. Jesus Christ. Including the convenience store. I was like, yeah, you go. Right. That's fucked up. That absolutely did not have to happen. So, to everyone's surprise, Paul Murdaugh did actually face criminal charges. They brought criminal charges against him in late April of 2019. And these were 3 felony counts of boating under the influence, otherwise known as BUI. 1 causing death, 2 causing great bodily injury to other passengers. Because, like I said, Morgan, her hand was all fucked up, and Connor had his jaw broken and his teeth all fucked up. Like I said, he looks all right now, but he still has a scar, like you can see. Now, here's the thing. So Paul pleaded not guilty, and he got released on bond while he was waiting for a trial. But the thing about it, even though people were kind of like, oh, hey, like, he might actually, like, have some consequences for some shit that he did for a change, but there was still, like, little signs that he was getting special treatment. Like, normally, when you would be brought in, like, up on the charges or whatever, like, at the trial, you'd be, like, in the prison jumpsuit, and, you know, maybe you'd have cuffs on. They would take, you know, like, a mugshot of you, like, in the prison or whatever. They took a mugshot of him in the hallway of the courtroom, and he just had a regular ass, like, suit on. Like, they didn't even put him in the orange jumpsuit. And people were just kind of like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, you know, why don't you just treat him like everybody else? So it was that kind of shit, and kind of just letting him go home. I don't know. People were just mad about it. Just little shit like that. So I kind of feel like this, even though there had been rumors and shit circulating, I don't think really anybody had the audacity to kind of stand up to them because of the power that they had. But this seemed like it was sort of the catalyst for all of the shit that happened subsequently, like the whole downfall of the dynasty, I guess. Because it just kind of showed, you know, he had got away with shit before, but this was like beyond the pale. Like, not only had he killed a girl, but then his family very obviously tried to cover it up, and I think people were kind of sick of their shit at this point. You know what I mean? And then shit started coming out about, you know, he's had boat accidents before, he's had car accidents before that were covered up, all this other kind of shit. He's been a drunk like his whole, like, since he was a teenager, all this other kind of stuff. And as they were doing, because of all the lawsuits, obviously they do discovery, so they look into all this other kind of stuff, and that kind of started bringing up all this other stuff as well, that would eventually lead to a lot of financial charges against Alec in particular. And so Paul, here's the thing. Like, he was under indictment. I think he was under, like, house arrest. He might have had an ankle monitor. I'm not entirely sure. But they didn't bring his case to trial for, like, 2 years. It was a while. You know what I mean? So people were kind of pissed off about that. It was like, well, if you're going to charge him in April 2019, like, why wait, like, 2 years? But they did. And he was just allowed to run around. And they said the crazy shit was that, so he was out on bond, and they said, and then he's just, like, posting shit on Instagram and Snapchat, him out drinking and partying with his friends, like nothing happened.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that pissed people off, too, because they're like, look at that motherfucker. He just killed somebody. He killed a girl. And it's like, and then he's just out there like a party boy, like like nothing went on. And it's just like, so I think people were pissed off about that, too. That he just did that. Now, I will note that he never actually went to trial because he was actually shot 3 days before the hearing about the boat crash. So that's why. But it did take 2 years before the hearing was even scheduled, because it was 2019 and the shooting happened in 2021. So yeah. Now, a couple of years later, so obviously during those 2 years, he's, you know, technically under house arrest, but not really. Like I said, he's out partying with his friends just like he did before. Like it seemed like he didn't even care. And there were so many lawsuits that the family was, or at least Alec was kind of feeling the financial pressure of, like, all these lawsuits and all of this kind of stress. Also, like I said, according to mostly everybody that knew him, he was a bad opioid addict, which I kind of feel like at his trial the defense was trying to use as an excuse for his unhinged behavior, which I could see how it could have contributed, but I don't know. I don't think we should use that as an excuse, but yeah, so he had a bad opioid addiction. So fast forward to June 7th, 2021. And on this particular day in the afternoon, the chief financial officer of PMPED, the law firm that Alec Murdaugh worked at, basically confronted him because all of this discovery shit that had been going on through the course of all the lawsuits, and because this law firm was involved, obviously, they saw a lot of the shit, and they were like, you know, there's a lot of money missing. We're wondering where it's going. So they started doing, like, investigation into it. And what they essentially discovered at first was that there was approximately almost $800,000 in funds that should have gone to their clients but never got to them. And they eventually tracked it back to Alec had probably stolen it. So on June 7th, 2021, they basically confronted him about it. It's like, well, what happened to it? Where is all this money? Like, and they kind of showed him the paperwork and stuff. And at first he's like, well, I don't know. I didn't do anything, blah, blah, blah. But he knew he did some shit, which is maybe one of the reasons that this happened, the double murder happened on the day it did. Although he might have been planning it anyway. I'm not entirely sure about that. We'll see how everybody feels about it. So later on that evening, that same day that he was confronted about the missing money that they knew that he stole, everybody went to Moselle, which is their hunting property in Colleton County, and he called his wife Maggie, who was then 52, and said, come meet with me at the hunting lodge. We're going to go see my dad, Randolph Murdaugh III, he had, like, dementia, and he was real sick and in the hospital. And the weird thing is that they have cell phone records and shit like that. And after he called her and asked her to come to the hunting lodge, Maggie texted her friend and specifically said that her husband sounded quote-unquote fishy, and that he was up to something.
Her husband sounded fishy. That's fucking funny.
So she's not dumb, is she?
Yeah.
But she still went. Now, okay. So what actually, okay, I don't know if I want to go like what his story was or what actually happened, because he lied. I mean, obviously. His story was that he had been at the hunting lodge, but then he took a nap for a while, and then he went to visit his dad, and that he was visiting his dad for like 45 minutes, and he got back to the lodge a little past 10 p.m., couldn't find his wife or his son, went out to the kennels and found them dead. That was his story. And you can hear like his 911 call. He sounds very distraught. I just came out. It was 10:06, I think the call came in. And, my wife and my son, please come right away. Like my wife and my son have been shot and it's bad and all this other kind of stuff. But as it will not shock you to know, that's actually not what happened. That was his story. However, later on, I will note though that he was not arrested for this until a while later. He was a suspect in the sense that a spouse is always a suspect in this kind of murder. But at first, at least according to most of the people that they interviewed, like including cops and locals and journalists and stuff, they said at first they thought that, because they didn't think he would kill anybody, like especially his family. Bless you. They thought that the family had been targeted either because of something to do with the boat crash, like maybe family members of the boat crash that were mad or whatever because Paul was getting away with it, or somebody that he'd fucked over through his law firm, which, that's not a crazy thing to think. So I think people were more thinking along those lines rather than that Alec did it at first. Like I said, he was a suspect, but I think they were kind of concentrating on other theories at that point in time. Because he just said, I came back here and I found them like this. And the fucked up thing about it was that Paul, who was 22 at the time, like I said, the kid was a piece of shit, but he didn't really deserve to die like that. You know what I mean? They found him kind of half in, half out of the like little feed thing by the kennels. And I mean, he was shot with a shotgun, like his head was almost blown off. You know what I mean? And then the wife was found like a few feet away, like just out in the grass, and she'd been shot like a whole bunch of times too with a different weapon, with a rifle. So initially, because it was two weapons, people thought, maybe it was two shooters, and this was like a targeted execution or whatever. Like I said, having to do with the boat crash or having to do with his financial crimes, which, like I said, not a crazy thing to think. However, using all the cell phone data and various other things, they actually figured, and also testimony from the nurse that was taking care of his dad, who said, yeah, like Alec did come here to visit his dad, but he was only here for like 20 minutes, even though he later said, hey, can you say I was here for 45 minutes? She said, he told me to say that, and she said that in court too. Like, so he was trying to establish an alibi. He knew what he was doing. Also, I think one of the major pieces of evidence was that only a couple of minutes before the shooting, and Alec didn't know about this, was that Paul was recording. He was taking care of his friend's dog, he was staying at the kennels, and he took a video of the dog, whose name was Bubba, and he put it on Snapchat. And in that video, you can hear Paul's voice, you can hear Maggie's voice, and you can hear Alec's voice, even though he said he wasn't there at that time. This was literally less than 5 minutes before the shooting. And Alec had said he wasn't there then. That he had come there later and just found the bodies, after it happened. So I think that video was a big... Like I said, you couldn't see Alec in the video, but he has a very distinctive voice, and you could definitely hear that was his voice. So they knew that he lied, about being there at the time of the shooting. So I think that was one of the main... There were other things, too. He actually also had an OnStar in his vehicle, and it tracked him to the area at the time of the shooting, like being at the lodge, not being at his dad's house, and also his phone. He had like one of those things that measures how many steps you take. You know what I mean? Because you're supposed to do 10,000 steps or whatever the fuck it is. And when he was supposedly taking a nap, it measured like almost 300 steps. They're like, yeah, he was walking around a lot for somebody who was supposedly taking a nap. You know what I mean? So it was that kind of shit. It was a lot of like cell phone data, that kind of stuff, that proved that he wasn't where he said he was. Oh, we got a super chat. Thank you very much, Burly Kev. Murdaugh did it. Oh, yeah, I totally buy it. Okay, so like they don't have, I'm going to say, they don't have any like physical evidence in the sense of, well, DNA wouldn't really matter anything because the dude lived there, you know what I mean? And they didn't have ballistics, but they had so much circumstantial evidence that it was like, who the fuck else? There was nobody else there, you know what I mean? I just kind of feel like he was obviously there like 5 minutes before the shooting. Like, you know what I mean? Another thing, and I saw this brought up on, I was watching like a video, like he's kind of a legal expert guy, and he actually had sat in at the trial, and he was talking to another, like a lawyer, and the video was only posted a couple days ago. And the lawyer guy made a good point. He said, you know, after Alec found the bodies, quote unquote, like found the bodies, he like called Buster, and he told Buster to come to the house. He's like, if he legitimately thought that someone was targeting his family and was maybe still on the property, because it's a huge fucking property, like the shooter could have still been there for all he knew if it was someone else. He's like, why would you tell your other son, hey, come to the house? Like, you'd be like, don't come here. You know what I mean? It's dangerous. Like, somebody might be targeting us. Like, go someplace else. Go see the cops or whatever. But he didn't say that. He told the other son to come there, which to me suggests that he knew he did it, so it's like there wasn't another shooter walking around. You know what I'm saying? And I think he deliberately used two separate weapons to make people think that there were two shooters.
Yeah, like it was a hit.
And the thing, they couldn't match any of his... But the thing about this was a hunting lodge. They had a bajillion guns.
Yeah.
Including the kind that several of those kind that they were shot with. Like I said, they didn't have any ballistics because at least it seemed like he was smart enough to clean most of that up. But
well, one was a shotgun. It's hard.
One was a shotgun and one was a rifle.
It's hard to get something out of a shotgun.
Mm.
Just the way the shotguns work.
Yeah, but like I said, they had
down a smooth board.
There were pictures like the police, photos and stuff like that. Like showed the gun cabinets. Like they had a bajillion guns. Like I said, it was a hunting lodge. They went hunting all the time, and he had several of guns of both types.
It sounded premeditated to me.
It did. I think he planned it. And like I said, the fact that he used two different weapons, one to shoot his son and then one to shoot his wife, suggests to me that he thought enough ahead that he's like, oh, if I do this, they'll think it was two shooters. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think that's what he was thinking. Because
trying to get rid of the
why
son.
else would you do that?
Trying to get rid of the son's problems and then the wife that would cause him problems.
Yeah, because she was there too.
Yeah.
Because like I said, the shooting happened 3 days before Paul's hearing about the boat crash shit, where he might have gone to prison.
Yeah, he didn't want his son to be in prison and soil his reputation type of deal. So he wanted to make it look like a mob hit, so he could hit reboot. It was a hard reboot. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that's maybe how he was thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, people will feel sorry for me. And
that was one of the reasons that a lot of people gave. It's like he thought he would get sympathy.
Yeah.
That he's like, oh, poor us. Like, you know what I mean? Oh, my family's been through so much. Like now my wife and my son are dead. Oh, poor me.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people he never said that. Like I said, he's never admitted it. But a lot of people said that's probably.
Trying to make it look like some kind of a mob hit.
Like, oh, we're being targeted.
Yeah.
You know, people are picking on us. Like, that kind of shit. I think that's what he was trying to do. But yeah, I think, Burley says, I think the thing that put me over the top is that he went to visit his elderly sick parents at 9 p.m. on a Sunday night. It's ridiculous unless it was some emergency. He had all day to visit them. Yeah, it's very clear that he was trying to establish an alibi. Like, he did go there. The nurse said he was there. But she also said he was only here for like 20 minutes, but he later asked me, hey, can you say I was here for longer? Like 45 minutes or 50 minutes.
Very suspicious.
And she thought that was super sus, and she like called the cops. Like, good for her.
Yeah.
Because like, you were not here for 45 minutes. Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, she wasn't having it. Like, he lied. So she told the cops that. So that was one of the things, and like I said, there's footage of her at the trial too.
What a genius.
Yeah, he's
What a
not.
genius.
He's one of those motherfuckers that's like not nearly as smart as he thinks he is.
Yeah.
It's
Had
always
he said nothing, she probably would have forgot about how long he was there. He could
That's
say,
what
"I
we'll
was
see.
there
That's
for-"
what I'm saying, because like if people come visit me or something like that, I'm not usually keeping track of time. If somebody later asks me like some crime happened or something, and said,
And look,
"Well,
time out.
how long were they at your house?" I don't fucking know. I don't know.
That's awful sus, dude. Look, I've been here for for 20 minutes. If anybody asks, could you tell me here if I was here for 45
that
minutes?
is
Like, what the fuck?
that is sketchy as hell.
Yeah,
Why would you even? Because you're gonna remember that.
This bitch is
I'm
trying
like,
to
are you establishing an alibi right now?
I would.
I've watched enough true crime to know
Yeah.
that. That's Like, why would you even say that?
It'd be better if he just showed up. And then
Yeah.
just did
Just
shit.
checking
He goes,
on
no,
shit
I
like
wasn't there
that.
20 minutes. I was there about 45 minutes.
And like you
the
said,
other
if he
person would
hadn't
be like,
said
well,
anything,
yeah,
maybe like I don't really
maybe,
remember.
Yeah.
I mean, because most people don't really keep track, right? Like
Dumbass.
she might have still busted his ass, but because she might have noticed. But I kind of feel like it'd be less like the fact that you brought it up at all.
It would still be deniable.
If anybody asks, I'd be like, oh,
it would
no.
still be
I'm not-
deniable. The Duke could go, no, I was
Right.
there for about 45 minutes. You know, no, he was there about 20. We're just remembering it different. I was there 45. And the jury would go, he might have been there for 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he
But
was
the
there for 30.
second you ask somebody to lie for you,
Yeah, somebody to lie for
Then
you,
that
and all of
is
a sudden
super-
it's just like ding, 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 ding.
And
They're
that's
ringing the
gonna
bell. They're ringing the bell.
lodge in the back of your mind.
Yes.
I don't know why it was like I said. Motherfuckers like this are never as smart as they think they are.
He's not as smart as he thinks he is.
No, but not smart at all, really.
Yeah.
So yeah. And like I said, I think one of the big things too was that he wasn't counting on his son Paul like recording the video of that dog, and that you can hear his voice in it, even though he said he wasn't there at that time, because that was only like 5 minutes before the shooting happened. Because they think the shooting happened in the 10-minute window between 8:50 and 9 o'clock, and he said he wasn't there. He said he was napping, and then he was visiting his dad, and he said he wasn't at the house, and he didn't get there until 10 o'clock, and that's when he found the bodies. But that showed that he was there like right before the murders, which, you know, that to me is like pretty definitive evidence. Yeah, you can't see him in the video, but that's his voice for sure. So yeah. And like I said, dude's fucking guilty. I'm sorry.
Dude says that you don't have a southern accent. It makes him think that you're well read. No, man, they got people with southern accents that are super well read. It's just that our generation grew up watching MTV, so it kind of like faded, you know. It just depends on what your influences were when you were young.
Well, and I think
I was moving all around the world, and Jen was just into other shit, and she was from Daytona, which is
in my case, my father's side of the family had very strong southern accents.
Yeah.
But my mom's side of the family were from Baltimore, D.C. area, and they didn't have southern accents. So I think that I just grew up being in the middle, kind of.
Yeah, and Daytona was kind of a mixed area.
It is kind of, yeah, because there's kind of people from everywhere.
But a lot of the guys that I did grow up with in Mississippi, they had strong southern accents. But they also were listening to Duran Duran and fucking, you know, fucking all the new wave bands and shit, fucking Violent Femmes and MTV. And over time, they spread out. They went to other fucking cities like Nashville, Tennessee, and fucking some of them ended up in Florida, where there's a bigger mix of people. And the accents just kind of soften. Mine only comes out when I was talking to my dad, or when I get back around them, and it just happens. Or if I get mad, it comes out. Just, you know, right now, you know, fucking, and I speak multiple languages. I've been all over the world.
I got a piece.
So for some reason, outsiders associate a southern accent with being fucking uneducated. Man, some of the fucking best educated fucking writers fucking in fucking, you know, in fucking American history are from the South, you know. Fucking what's his name? and fucking Robert E. Howard. We're talking about him now. Fucking, he was fucking from Texas, and it's just a stereotype. We have a class system here, and what Hollywood keeps showing you is like the fucking bottom of the barrel. People that come out of trailer parks or long time ago in the 30s, you know what I mean? Fucking sharecroppers and shit, you know. Southern sharecroppers were in the socioeconomic fucking scale of things were fucking below slaves. All right, fucking, and literally, slaves were worth something. Sharecroppers weren't worth anything. Slaves had security. Sharecroppers had none. They were fucking worse than slaves. And when there was in Jones County, when there was a slave revolt, the sharecroppers revolted with them, fucking side by side, and that was during the Civil War, during the Free State of Jones. That was the county I came from, but it's just stereotypes.
Yeah, and I never really, honestly, even though my dad's side of the family had very, very strong Southern accents, I never really talked like that much. Like, I do have some Southern isms, like I do say y'all and shit like that, but I just never sounded like that.
Yeah, but you should hear how fucking y'all sound to us from Minnesota and fucking, you know what I mean? I was in New York, you know, just sound fucking stupid, you know? Super ignorant, you know? It's just different because the cultures are different.
And I was not, like I said, I was never real into any kind of stereotypically Southern things.
Yeah.
I guess. So I was always into creepy shit and horror movies and books and shit like that.
Well, most Southerners actually aren't.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I wasn't into that.
Not
so
in our generation.
I didn't like specifically try not to talk like that. I just didn't talk like that.
Yeah. We had people fucking trying to join Southern culture. Like fucking Grant's talking about all the Yankees that have moved down here recently. Yeah, they've been moving here for fucking centuries. The plantation owners were actually from the North because they would come here for the money and open up fucking slave plantations. And within a generation, they were fucking Southern as fuck. It was just, you come here and our culture overpowers yours. Because it's just a stronger ethnoculture. It's just the way it is here. But it seems to be strong wherever you are. When I was living up in Michigan, you know what I mean? Michigan's got, you can get sucked into the Michigan mentality. Or I was in Boston, you can get sucked into that mentality. It's just wherever you are, that world's going to take over. Like, me and Jen are big in the goth scene here, and I've been to goth scenes all over the fucking world. All right? New York, Boston.
Oh, Burley gave us another super chat. Thank you very much. Should I have another beer? Why not?
I mean, all kinds of beer. We're fucking drinking.
How many have you had so far? I think that's an important context clue.
Yeah. But we're in the goth scene here. We club promote. We've been doing shit with clubs here for fucking almost 20 years. Now, how long has it been? 16 years, probably?
Yeah.
And it is the goth scene. But Jen doesn't realize how different it is from the North. It is still very Southern. What you can get away with in the North, you could never get away with here. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm going to talk shit about the Boston and New York scene, but it's just very different because the cultures are different. Like, you can't backstab and talk shit about people and be catty as in the way that you can in the North. We had people here like that. We had a couple recently that came in and they were like that. I mean, they're gone now.
They didn't last long.
They didn't last long. Southern culture doesn't tolerate that. You know, it's just a different culture of what's acceptable and what isn't.
And I don't even know if that was just a Southern thing, because some of the people that were not necessarily involved in getting them ousted were not from here.
Well, yeah, that's true too. Well, the people who have made it in the South.
Yeah.
We got friends from New York that have made it in the South. Brockton, one of our better friends, fucking Shauna. She's been on the show before. She's from Brockton, Massachusetts, and fucking her and I would go on about the Boston scene too. She was the Boston skinhead also. She didn't like that bitch.
No.
She didn't like that bitch, and she makes it in Southern culture because of her mentality. You know, it's an honor culture, and we don't like snots, and we don't like people trying to be something that they're not. We like authenticity, and they weren't authentic, and they were trying to be something they weren't. They didn't even know who they were talking to. They didn't even bother to do their research. They didn't know the battlefield. They're talking to me and Jen like we're just customers.
Yeah.
No, we promoted this night, bitch.
It's
Fucking
pretty...
you, the fucking flyer that you saw online that brought you here. Jen made that.
Yeah.
You know, we've been doing this for fucking 16 years, and they were just throwing their weight around. They didn't know what the fuck they were talking about.
And they just like showed up.
They just showed up, and they were a good-looking couple. Good-looking couple, and there's a lot of the things that they had right. They had a lot of things right, but the attitude didn't work here. That would have worked fine in Boston. It wouldn't work here.
Yeah, like I said, they didn't last too long.
No.
They got kicked out.
Right, and fucking
nothing we did.
Right.
They got kicked out because
everybody got rid of them.
They kept sneaking in the back and.
Yeah, and then people kept complaining about them, and they just didn't make any friends, and then now they can't be around anymore because the culture here is different than it is in the north. And I'm not sure they were from the north. I think they were.
I thought they said they were from around here. They just hadn't been out in a long time because they had kids and were raising their kids and all
that would have been fine in Boston. That's not fine here.
Yeah, like I said.
And Grabthers, guy in the comment section, we went to high school together when I was, for a couple years, up in the Detroit, Michigan area. And I liked that area. I lived in Detroit for a while. And that shit is fucking Yankee as shit. It's part of Yankeedom. But Michiganders are different than people from Massachusetts or Boston. They're more like country people in a certain way. They're more like Canadians. They like the forest. They like to go camping, hiking, deer hunting. But they also like suburban stuff. They're kind of Scandinavian and Slavic roots to them, and the way that they are. They're different than Southerners. I'm not saying it's better or worse, or it's just a different world. And he knows. We went to school together, and he's been down here. It's a different world. It's still good. They got cute girls up there. Fucking Sophie was from there. She's been on the show for a couple times. She was the friend of one of our high school friends, fucking Jason's little sister. His little sister's friend came up here to see us, and she was a fan of the show. And we're friends. It's just the North and the South are just different, and California's different too. It's just the Southwest is different.
Yeah,
different regions.
And obviously, not everyone's the same everywhere.
Yeah.
There are stereotypes about people from certain regions.
Yeah.
To a large extent, because some people are like that, but obviously not everywhere.
Yeah, like today, I went down to the fucking dollar store to go buy some shit. Dollar General store. And there were two fucking rednecks in there that were stereotypical as fuck. I was embarrassed.
Two Florida
Florida
mans.
Drunk, day drinking in their 50s.
Probably on meth.
Probably
from
on
the way
meth,
he described it.
Because
he's like, meth? I was
Yeah, just acting an ass with a fucking...
A lot of meth around here.
With full fucking main character syndrome. They thought they were the fucking main characters of a fucking movie. Yeah.
In their defense, they were probably
just
high
rednecks,
as balls and really wasted.
Rednecks just high as balls, buying beer.
At Dollar General in the middle of the day.
In the middle of the day, and they're already drunk.
You can't get much more Florida man than that.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have surprised me in the least. I'd be like, yep, that's about the clientele there.
Yeah. They were embarrassing. Yeah, they're rednecks. They're the same. They're the same.
Should have filmed that shit.
Yeah, they're the same ethnic group I'm in, and I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. Yeah.
I would also be embarrassed.
Yeah, I'm just like, because they're not all.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Can't have nice things yet.
You should have filmed it. I don't know. I know that there's a People of Walmart website, but I don't know if there's a People of Dollar General website. There probably ought to be. Although this one around here, I don't see too many weirdos in there, but it does happen every now and then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The people that work there are really cool. We know, like, actually, one of them. Sorry, one of them, Stu. He even comments in here sometimes because he watches our show. So every time we go over to the thing, he's like, "Oh, I saw your show about whatever," and all this other kind of fun.
Yeah, Mark Twain was Southern. And what's the other guy? Fucking Mitchner. No, this guy from Mississippi. He wrote all kinds of stuff. They just we have, like I said, we have a class system.
William Faulkner is probably who
Faulkner. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh, and
William
Flannery O'Connor. Like
Faulkner,
I'm a big Southern Gothic fan.
Yeah.
If you've never read any Flannery O'Connor, like her shit is great. I like her shit.
It's a lower population density. It's less population, at least traditionally. So that means you're going to have less people that stand out for those kind of talents because there's not as many people.
Oh, Harper Lee, yeah. Forgot about her.
But per capita, fucking Southerners are fucking badasses when it comes to that kind of shit. You have a lot of fucking intelligent people here. And we have really good universities here. A lot of people think that, well, what about Boston? No, we got... Old Miss is actually a pretty good university. Fucking architects come out of there, fucking scientists and shit. Now, they'll go on to other universities later, but they have very high academic standards in the South. You can't just get in just because. You know, you have to have grades. And because there's fewer students, they get a lot of one-on-one, almost like tutoring from the staff, from the, what do you call them? From the scholars in the restaurant.
Granther says the South has Waffle House. In the North we have Denny's, but it ain't the same. We have Denny's too.
Yeah.
Denny's actually used to be the place to go after the punk rock shows. Like, because, you know, it's one of the few things that was open all night. And there used to be one, actually, is it still there? I'm not sure. There used to be one right off of I-4 on Lee Road. And when we used to go to Venue 13, a lot of us, after the club closed, would go up to the Denny's because it was just right up the street. And I used to go there with my brothers and, like, when they were in bands and stuff, we always used to go to the Denny's. And you'd have been in the mosh pit, so somebody would have, like, you know, a bloody head or something like that. And, like, all the waitresses were used to it. They're like, hey, you want moons over my hammy or what? But, yeah, so Waffle House is a whole different scene, man. I mean, Denny's is, like, this level, but Waffle House is, like... I've eaten at Waffle House a few times. We used to eat at Waffle House after the club sometimes, and nothing super crazy happened. Like, mostly it was, like, kind of cool shit. Like, everybody in there was drunk because everybody was coming from, you know, from the clubs. But mostly it was pretty positive. Like, people would be, like, all singing or some shit like that. But there are, like, a lot of fights. I think the Waffle House that's down it's not right down the street, but it's a few miles down. The one that's closest to us, I think there was actually a shooting out there last year or something like that. But yeah, we weren't there obviously when that happened. We usually just go to the McDonald's drive-thru now because that's all it's open. It's too far out of the way to go to Waffle House now. We have one, but it's like the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that's a whole different thing. So yeah, like I said, I kind of feel like for a while, like I want to say it was like more than a year for sure. Like, Alec was a suspect in these because they knew that after they kind of started investigating and they looked into like all the cell phone records and all that and saw that video and everything, like after they got Paul's phone, they're like, this motherfucker is like lying about shit, but they didn't really have enough evidence, I guess. But they were still kind of operating under the assumption this could have been somebody else, like a targeted killing that had to do with like the boat crash or, you know, his law firm or something like that. So, and like I said, I think for a long time, people in the town didn't really want to believe it because he was such a prominent figure and like, why would he do that? He always seemed like a good dude, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, like I said, can't trust nobody. You never know, like, what people are like this are going to do when they're put in a corner. Because I kind of feel like what happened was his entire world was collapsing, essentially. You know, it was only a few days hence, like, his son was probably going to have to face consequences for the boat crash, for killing that girl. He was probably going to go to prison. All of these financial crimes that he had committed, all of this fraud was being discovered, and he knew he was probably going to get in trouble for that. He had an opioid addiction. He was draining money. He was being sued by, you know, Mallory Beach's family and all these other people that were discovering, like, all the money he'd stolen from them. And he also had been talked to about, you know, he had been confronted at work about his little embezzling habit. And so he probably felt like maybe this was like a desperate attempt to garner some sympathy, like you said. That was most of the investigators think if he did it, because he didn't have a super clear motive, I guess, but I think the motive was he wanted everybody to feel sorry for him so he wouldn't get in trouble, is because his life was spiraling out of control. And like I said, the drugs probably didn't help either, so he probably wasn't thinking super rationally, but he was rational enough that he planned it not as well as he probably thought he did, using 2 different weapons. Like, he tried to cover up his tracks, so he obviously wasn't that unhinged. But I think that was maybe the motivation behind it, that he was just getting really desperate. You know what I mean? So, and as we'll see, it got even fucking crazier, like, after that. Now, here's the crazy shit. So while they're investigating the double murder, they come out, like, the investigators come out and announce that because of evidence, which they did not say exactly what it was, I still don't know, so it's undisclosed, because of evidence they uncovered during the course of the investigation into the double homicide, they have decided to reopen an inquiry into another suspicious death that happened back in 2015. And everyone's like, what? Like, what the fuck is that all about? Like I said, I don't think they ever released publicly what exactly the evidence was that inspired them to do this. But here's what happened. Back in 2015, there was a 19-year-old kid named Stephen Smith. And on July 8th of that year, he was a nursing student. And he was found, like, a guy, it was like 4 a.m, and a guy was driving to work. And, you know, they have his 911 call. He called 911 and said, you know, there's somebody laying in the middle of the road, and, you know, it doesn't look good. It's like somebody's going to run him over. Like, you guys need to come out here. And he's laying in the middle, like, right on the yellow line, in the middle of Sandy Run Road. It's like 4 a.m. Now, what they determined when they got there, the cops got there, and he was dead. Now, they found his car pulled over on the side of the road about 3 miles away from his body, where his body was found. And from everything that I could determine, it appeared that he had run out of gas. So I guess what happened was either he got out of the car and started walking because, you know, although you'd think that he would just call somebody, like, to come get him because he had a cell phone. Because the thing about it was that he was, his boyfriend, they found his boyfriend later, and he said, yeah, I was on the phone with him. Like, because he was like, oh, I ran out of gas. He's like, are you walking? And he said, no. So what might have happened was that he might have run out of gas. He might have been either standing by the car or walking for whatever reason. And evidently another car came along and hit him. But here's the thing. So the cops that first showed up at the scene, at first, when they see this kid laying dead in the middle of the road, they said his head was all fucked up. There was like a huge puddle of blood. They said he had a laceration from like the back of his head, like all the way up to the bridge of his nose. Like it was like kind of open, you know what I mean? And they said, but the rest of his body looked okay. Like it didn't look like he'd been hit by a car, in other words. They said he was still had his shoes on. They said usually if a car hits you hard enough to kill you, you'd be knocked out of your shoes and you'd have other scrapes and bruises. He didn't have that. Like his clothes weren't torn up, like, you know, like he'd hit the asphalt or nothing. He was just laying there. And actually one of the cops that first arrived at the scene, he was interviewed in one of the documentaries, and he said, when I first saw the injury, I thought it was a gunshot, like in his head. But then, like, the cops were just kind of like, oh, it must have been a hit and run. He must have been walking in the middle of the road in the middle of the night, and, like, a car hit him. And, you know, he got run over. Even though it didn't really look like that. And he was just kind of like, so it seemed like they sort of, he didn't say cover up, but he said, oh, they just kind of backtracked on the whole murder situation. It was like, oh, hit and run. It was a hit and run. You know what I mean? He's like, it didn't look like a hit and run, though. So he's just laying there. There were no tire tracks, no broken glass, no nothing. So, and honestly, later they said the wound on his head actually looked more like something long and hard, like blunt force trauma, like a baseball bat or maybe like a tire iron had like hit him in the head. Now, they found out when they reopened the investigation, because like I said, it kind of went, I mean, the case happened in 2015. They talked about it for a little while, like what happened. Then everybody's like, oh, it was a hit and run, you know, and that was kind of the end of it. But in 2021, after the Murdaugh murders, they reopened the case. And they're like, obviously, this was very suspicious. And they found out that Stephen Smith had gone to the same high school as Paul and Buster. And when they started interviewing students who had all been to school with them, every fucking one of them that they interviewed said that they heard that Buster had killed that kid. Either by picking him up in their car, like the story went, like most of them told, like pretty much, they interviewed them all separate and they pretty much all told the same story, that they'd all heard the same story. They said, we heard that they were driving out in the middle of the night and they saw him by the side of the road, either by his car or walking, like to get gas or whatever. And they started to like mess with him, and one of them ended up hitting him with a baseball bat and killing him. And pretty much all of them said Buster did it. Buster was Paul Murdaugh's older brother. Some also said that Paul might have also been involved, like he might have been in the car as well. There were also rumors going around, allegedly, that Stephen, who was gay, had a sexual relationship with Buster, and that Buster didn't want anyone to find out about it, or something, or he thought like somebody was going to find out about it or something like that, which might have given him a motivation to do that. So pretty much all of the students at the high school that they all went to had heard these rumors. And the cops were like, you know, rumors are rumors. Like, that doesn't mean they're true. But it's like the fact that everybody had heard this fucking story, that Buster had something to do with that, but that probably he wasn't going to get in trouble. Like, they were like, that kind of gave us pause, because we were sure that this kid had been murdered. Like, they even, like, later, they had him exhumed and everything like that. Now, I will note, so no one sues me, there is no evidence, like, tying Buster or Paul specifically to this case. But it's interesting that he was probably, Buster's name was, like, the only name that came up when everybody asked about what had happened. Like, everybody kind of heard about it somehow. Like, that either Buster had bragged about it and somebody blabbed or something like that. But they had all heard this same story. I will also note that as of now, as of this live stream, no charges have been, you know, levied against anyone in this case. But they're sure that kid was murdered. That was definitely blunt force trauma. They're not sure if it was a baseball bat, but it was something like that. And they're still investigating. It's still an open case. But a lot of people were just kind of like, that might have been something that happened that got covered up. Because look how quickly they pivoted from that looks like a murder to, oh, it was a hit and run, never mind. You know? And like one of the cops they interviewed on the documentary said, yeah, it seemed pretty sus. Because he thought it was a gunshot at first. He's like, because the way the wound looked when the kid was laying there. Because he's like, he didn't look like a hit and run because none of the rest of him was fucked up. You know? Like his clothes weren't torn or nothing. And he's like, there was no glass or, you know, car parts or nothing. So he thought it looked really suspicious. He's like, it almost looked like he'd been placed there, or like, you know, people had gotten out of the car and beaten him or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know if Buster and or Paul was responsible for this. But speculation is rampant. As I said, the case is still open. Nobody's charged anybody with it. But whatever evidence they uncovered in the course of the double homicide against Maggie and Paul Murdaugh caused them to reopen this case. So it had to be something. You know, I just don't know what it was. So there's that. There's a reward for information and everything like that. And then there was the weird case of Gloria Satterfield. Now, Gloria was their housekeeper and worked for them for like more than 20 years. Like, she started working there when Paul was like a baby, like he was 1 or something. So she'd worked for the family for like a long time, and like she was a nanny. And on February 26th of 2018, she supposedly tripped and fell over the family's dogs at Moselle, the hunting lodge where the murders later happened, and fell down the brick front steps, like fell backwards, and hit her and hit her head, and fractured her skull. And then she was actually in a coma for a while, and then she ended up dying a couple days later. Now, they didn't do an autopsy, and her cause of death on the initial death certificate was ruled as natural, even though when they did a later investigation, they said they weren't really sure. That they couldn't really tell if it was like accidental or not. Also, they didn't report the death to the coroner because for some reason it wasn't suspicious. Now, I will note that Paul and Maggie, who were both later murdered, were at the scene. They were the ones that found her because both of their voices can be heard on the 911 call. Maggie calls initially and says, my housekeeper, she fell down the steps. She didn't say anything about dogs. That was like a later addition. She said she fell down the steps and her head's bleeding and was asking for an ambulance. And Paul either called separately or was talking on his mom's phone, and was kind of saying, it's like, she's not breathing. I can't ask, because the people were asking, well, does she say where she's hurt? It's like, she's not talking. Like, she's just laying there. So both of them were present. Nobody knows, like, if anyone else was there. But yeah, so this woman supposedly, like, tripped and fell down the stairs. Now, Alec Murdaugh, after she died, he went to her sons, whose names were Tony and Brian, and said, man, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to make sure you guys are taken care of. I want you to sue my homeowner's insurance because it's my dogs that caused this, even though neither Maggie nor Paul on the initial call says anything about her tripping over dogs. And there were no dogs barking like on the call or anything like that. But that was something that he said. He said, she tripped over my dogs and I'm responsible. So I want you guys to sue my homeowner's insurance and you'll get a big payout. Now, so they were like, okay, well, that's very nice of you. So they did that. And he helped them sue his homeowner's insurance. Problem was, he got a huge settlement from the insurance company. Initially, it was more than $500,000. And then there was a later policy that paid out to almost $4 million. And those two, her sons, never saw that money. They didn't even know about the initial $500,000 settlement until they saw it printed in the paper. Like a journalist had come up with it and said, oh yeah, there was a $500,000 settlement. They're like, what? We didn't get any money. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we kept calling about it and he just said, oh, it's coming. You just got to wait. What ended up happening was that Alec got that money from his homeowner's insurance and took it and put it in his own account through like a shell account. He stole the fucking money. He went to his dead housekeeper's sons. This woman had worked for him for like more than 20 years, right? And she dies on his property. Accidentally? Did someone push her? Nobody knows. But after she died, he goes there and says, I'm going to help you out. You guys will be set. I'm sorry this happened. And then steals all their money. They were supposed to get like more than $4 million. And they never saw a penny of it. Damn. He just took it.
What happened to it?
He took it.
What did he do with it?
He probably blew it on drugs, honestly.
Yeah.
He put it in his own. Here's what he did. Like, they explained this pretty good because I don't, know much about financial malfeasance or anything. But it's like they explained it okay, like on the HBO Max documentary, which was older. They said what he did was he set up a shell company which was just called Forge LLC. And there is actually a legit company called Forge something or other that their whole thing is paying out structured settlements. Like if if you're in an accident and you get like $1 million settlement or something, it keeps it in trust for you and sends you money like every month or whatever. And so knowing that was a very respected company with that name, he started another fake company with a similar name
to fool you,
so that if people saw that on the check, they would think it was legit. And it was a shit, but it was his own account. It was his personal account. So that's what he would do. That was one of the things that he did. So that was one of the ways that he would defraud people. He's like, yeah, we're going through Forge. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, I've heard of them. You know what I mean? And then the check would say it and everything. And, like, it was all legit. And, like, he would get other people in the firm to, like, sign off on it because they thought it was fine.
He was a crook.
But it was going into his own account was where it was going. And he did that multiple times. And the fact that he did, I mean, like I said, this dude did so many fucking very sketchy things. But this really pissed me off. Because I'm just like, the fact this poor woman who was almost 60 dies on his property. And like I said, I'm not entirely sure it was an accident. He very well may have fucking pushed her. Who knows? I don't even know if he was there. Nobody knows. Paul might have pushed her. Who fucking knows? Maybe she just fell. But it's like he definitely used it to his fucking advantage. And he screwed her two sons over. And I was like, that is, ugh.
Did they get anything?
No, they didn't get anything.
Nothing.
Well, they had to have another lawyer and they had to sue later. Yeah. And he was supposed to pay all this money back, but I don't think he ever did.
He knew that. Well, they'll have to sue me for it. It'll take fucking 20, 30
And it's
years
like, and by that time, he probably didn't have it anyway. Because by this point, he was in fucking prison, right? So it's like that, I don't know. Everything about this just makes me so mad. I'm just so mad. So it's like, but I don't know. That really pissed me off. I was like, man, you have to be a really cold-blooded motherfucker to like do something like that. Because he totally planned it. I wouldn't even put it past him if he'd like pushed that poor woman. I'm not saying he did. Allegedly. But it's just kind of like, that sounds like some shit he would do. I'm just saying. And this was a few years. This was 2018. So this was even before the boat crash. So maybe not. Maybe he wasn't that cold-blooded yet because he wasn't that desperate yet. There was also speculation that that if he did do something to her, that it was because she had kind of discovered his opioid addiction and was going to say something about it. And so maybe he bumped her off. Because other people that were like, man, he like hid pills all over the fucking house. I saw one report that said he would take like up to 60 pills a day. Which, how can you not die? I don't know. You build up a tolerance, I guess. But they said he had like little bags of pills like stashed all over the place. But that was some speculation. Like I said, I don't know. This is all just rumors and hearsay. But some people thought that maybe she was going to say something about what a drug addict he was. And that so he decided to do something about it and, make more than $4 million in the process. So, there was that. So so also during the course of the double homicide, they also reopened that investigation because obviously that seemed really sketchy, and they also exhumed her remains. Now later on, Alec did admit, like when during the financial trials, that he did make up the story about the dogs tripping her, but like so it would be like a liability that they could sue about. And he intended to steal the money like the whole time. Who was responsible for her dying, I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, it's entirely possible it could have been just an accident, but who knows? I don't believe anything about this fucking family anymore, you know what I mean? So yeah, in neither case, like no one's been charged in either of those, but considering the other shady shit like this dude was up to, that this family was up to, I trust no one. You know what I'm saying? Allegedly. So there's that. There was also a case, they didn't go into this on the Netflix series, but they talked about this in the older HBO Max series. They actually talked to a guy who was a cop, and he was in an accident. Like there was a real bad snowstorm, and he'd gone out, there was like a traffic jam or a wreck or something, and he'd gone out there to help. and he got hit, and it well, at first, like, he got quote unquote whiplash, and they said, oh, it's just a sprained neck, and they treated him for it, but then, like, it just kept getting worse and worse over the years, and then he got a second opinion, and they said, well, your vertebra is actually kind of broken, like, you've had a broken neck, like, all this time, that's why you're in so much pain. So, and workers' comp wouldn't pay, so he went to Alec to sue to get his medical expenses paid for, and Alec was like, oh, absolutely, I'll help you out and stuff like that, and he stole all that motherfucker's money, too. He stole all that dude's money, too. And I think that wasn't as big a payout. I think it was like $125,000 or something like that, that they sued the insurance company for. But Alec took all that too. Just no fucking morals at all. There was also a deaf guy that was injured in a crash that had all his money stolen. Like, same kind of way. He did this multiple times. Like I said, he was a personal injury lawyer, so people are coming to him for help. They've been in terrible accidents and their insurance company or workers' comp won't pay for their medical expenses and they need to sue. Alex says, absolutely, I can help you with that. And then he steals all their fucking money. You know, great. So there's that. So they figured out that there was like at least $6 million that was unaccounted for, that he had stolen from clients, and probably more. Also, you have to think too that he's still getting sued, like all the lawsuits from the boat crash, because like I said, Mallory Beach is, you know, the girl that died, like her family is obviously suing him as well. So there was all of that. And as I said, he'd also been confronted on the day of the murders about the money that he was stealing from his law firm. Because not only did he steal from their clients, he also embezzled from the law firm itself. Like, he also did that. Like, almost $1 million that they know of. So, later in September of 2021, he either resigned or was fired. I guess they asked him to resign from his own ass law firm, which I thought was funny.
That's ridiculous.
Well, his brother Randy still worked there, and there were other partners.
Yeah.
So they basically told him, was like, bro,
Yeah,
get
you gotta go.
get the fuck out of here. You're
Making
stealing
us
all
look
our
bad.
money, and you're making us look bad.
Yeah.
No one will ever trust this. This law firm has been around for more than a century.
Yeah.
And no one will trust us anymore. You know what I mean? You're fucking everything up. So they either fired him or made him resign. So at this stage, he made a statement, like through his attorney, that he had an opioid addiction, and then he went to rehab. I believe he went to a Florida rehab. And then he also got his law license suspended, and rightfully so. And the firm later changed its name to just the Parker Law Groups. They took his name off it entirely. Even though, as far as I know, his brother Randy still worked there. So, all the other partners at the law firm also sued him because of all the money that he'd stolen. So the dude's, like, fucked. But like I said, it's all... He did this all to himself. This isn't outside forces. He did all this shit. Like, you know, can't fucking cry
Too
about
big
it
for
now.
his britches.
Yeah, like, what the fuck?
Yeah. That's what they call that in the South. Getting too big for your britches.
Yeah, that's exactly what this was. And I think this happens a lot with people that have a lot of wealth and privilege,
Yeah.
is they get away with shit for so long that they think they can just get away with anything.
Yeah.
And to an extent, that's true, but I think up to a point...
Like megalomania.
Yeah, like, up to a point, people are like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah, like, nah, this ain't gonna fly.
Like, yeah.
They just keep pushing boundaries, pushing.
Until eventually people are like, all right, that's enough. They do get away with way more than they should, but I think there comes a point where everybody is just kind of like, nah, bro, that's not happening. Now,
Well, people like this get away with more than they should.
yeah.
Not everybody gets away with. Not everybody here gets away with more than they
No.
should.
I'm just saying
Don't
it's,
take it the
it's
right way.
you know, it's common, though, that
Yeah.
for somebody with this level of
Yeah.
money and power,
Just start trying to fucking do shit.
and they just do crazier and crazier shit. You know what I mean? And it takes this fucking epic downfall. Okay, now listen to this crazy shit. So, criminal charges. He's being sued by everybody. I probably even sued him at this stage, and I don't even know the dude. You know, he's been disbarred. You know, his family's dead, even though he fucking did that. He decides that at this point that he's going to... Okay, let me set this up. So there's a 911 call. He calls 911, and he says he was out on whatever road. He says, I'm going to Charleston on this kind of back road. And he's like, and I got a flat tire, and I pulled over, and another guy pulled over to help me, and then he shot me. But he sounded perfectly fine. And he's like, well, where'd they shoot you? Well, somewhere in my head. I'm okay, though, but I can't really drive. I'm bleeding a lot. And they're like, okay, we're sending... What'd the guy look like? Oh, he was a youngish guy. Like, it was a long gun or something like that. Like, he gives this description. And at this point, people are like, man, that's crazy. Maybe the same person that shot his wife... Because remember, he hasn't been arrested for the murders yet. And people are still like, there's other theories going around. Maybe the same person that shot his wife and son is targeting him now. Maybe they're targeting the whole family. Maybe this is the same person. Like, somebody's got a vendetta against him or something. Like, somebody just shot him in the middle of the day, in the middle of the road when he just had a flat tire. You know? But he wasn't badly hurt. It was just like, he was shot, but it was like just a graze, like on the back of his head or something. Like, it bled a lot, but it wasn't, there was no like real injury there. So, but I think that even at the time, like, I think the public were just kind of like, oh my God, somebody's targeting this family. But I think even law enforcement were kind of like, this sounds kind of sus. We need to get to the bottom of this. And it turned out that what Alec was essentially trying to do, at least according to him, was essentially hire someone to kill him. Right? His excuse was he's going to stage his own death. And this was possibly to get a $10 million life insurance payout that would go to his son, Buster. Because he wanted Buster to have enough money and just get the fuck out of here, get away from this shit show. I'm not sure if I believe this story, but this is what he said. This is after they caught him and his story started unraveling, that this wasn't just a random shooting, like he had planned this. This is the story that he gave. Like I said, I'm not sure I would buy it. Now, he said that it couldn't be suicide because a lot of life insurance policies won't pay out if you kill yourself. You have to get murdered, or you have to die in an accident or something like that. So he wanted to pay somebody to shoot him so that Buster would get the $10 million. So what he said he did was he called up a friend of his named Curtis Smith, better known as Eddie, because his middle name was Edward, who was a longtime friend of his who, you know, did some work for him around the farm, like, you know, just general handyman type stuff. They had known each other for a really long time. They called him Cousin Eddie. They also speculated that Cousin Eddie might have been the dude that was getting him the opioids. Although I will note that Eddie denied this, that he was not a drug dealer. Honestly, Eddie seemed a lot more credible than Alec did. But I don't know. He might have very well been getting him drugs. Whatever. So Alec said that him and Eddie had planned this. Eddie was an older man. He was 61 at the time. He said that they set it up so that they would meet along this road, and Alex would pull over, and he's like, and then I want you to come up and just shoot me and kill me. Right? That's what he said he planned. And he's like, that way, you know, my kid will get the money. And I think, though, that what he was planning to do was pin the blame for his wife and son's murders on Eddie, is what I think he was trying to do. I don't really know if he... Because here's the thing. They interviewed Eddie on both the documentaries. And like I said, he was a very good old boy. Very southern good old boy. Like, fucked up teeth, the whole deal. But he seemed pretty truthful, I thought. And he was like, look, this dude, he's like, I've known him forever. He was like a brother to me. I would have done pretty much anything for him. One, he's like, I'm not a drug dealer. You know, I didn't get him drugs. He's like, two, I didn't know shit about any kind of like murder for hire plot. He never called me. He never planned with me, hey, come and shoot me. So he's like, we never planned that. He's like, all that happened was on that day, he called me from his car, like asking for help. And he knew the dude had been going through some shit and was maybe suicidal. And it's like, oh, maybe he's going to kill himself. So he went out there to help him. And he's like, at which point he gets to the car. Alec gets out the car and starts brandishing a gun. Like either like he's going to shoot him or like he's going to shoot himself. So he kind of struggled. Gun goes off and just kind of grazed the back of his head. And then he just takes off. But he's like, I was not involved in any plot to like kill him for insurance fraud or anything like that. I don't know if the police bought this because Eddie did get arrested and he did get charged with insurance fraud. I don't think he got any prison time, if I remember correctly. It was like conspiracy, insurance fraud, assisted suicide, like some other charges like that. But I don't know if he wasn't in prison like at the time of the documentary. Like he was out and he's like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like, you know what I mean? I just showed up to help him out. And then he told him, like, we had planned to stage his death so he could get, like, insurance money. But, like I said, I think that... I don't know if Alec actually wanted Eddie to kill him. Or if he sort of planned it so he'd get wounded, but then he could pin the murders of Maggie and Paul on Eddie. I think that's what he was planning to do. I don't think he had any intention of Eddie killing him. That's my opinion. You know? I don't know. I wasn't there. But, you know, yeah, the dude, like I said, was going through some shit, all of his own making. And maybe he would have killed himself. Or maybe he would have had somebody else kill him. I just think he... I just think he was looking for a scapegoat, is what I think. Because I think maybe he knew that the jig was going to be up soon and they were going to figure out that he had killed his wife and son and he wanted somebody else to blame it on. Like, I think it was like a desperate last-ditch effort. But the fact that he would, quote-unquote, try to stage his own death at this point is just fucking crazy to me. Because at this point, like I said, the story's just been crazy. You get the boat crash and then the double murder and all the financial shit. And then this, I was like, well, that's just the fucking cherry on top of the sundae, isn't it? Like, where he had somebody else fucking shoot him. Whether it was accidental or whether he planned it or whatever, I'm not really sure. But the thing about it was that once the story unraveled, which it did pretty quickly, investigators were like, okay, well, now we're even more suspicious. So now they like ramped up the investigation into the double murder even more because they said this looks even more fishy. You know, because he was just acting so desperate and erratic. And... you know, obviously they had all of the other digital evidence, like the cell phone evidence and the video and everything like that from the double murder. So at this point, they're like, look, this dude probably did this. We have enough circumstantial evidence. We probably need to arrest him. Now, I will note that he was arrested first for all the financial shit. So when they decided to charge him with the murders, he was already in custody, like for all of the financial crimes. Because honestly, there was like over 100 counts they were charging him with, like all of the insurance fraud and embezzlement and everything. So he would have been in prison for a long time just for that. But by the time they thought they had a solid enough case in the double homicide, he was already in custody for that stuff. And you know what I mean? No, because like he pleaded guilty to, you know, all of the financial shit. I think he got 40 years for that. And he was supposed to pay like $9 million back in restitution, which I don't think anybody's going to see a penny of that. Then he got another 27 years for some other shit. And there was all that. But then, like, when they finally arrested him for the murders in July of 2022. So it was like 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, which I guess is a separate charge. So like I said, he was already in custody for that. And so his murder trial started in January 2023. So like I said, if you watch the documentary that's on HBO Max, that actually came out before he was arrested for the murders. So it still says that they were unsolved. But they did eventually charge him with them. And his trial started in January of 2023 and went on for 6 weeks. And it was a huge fucking deal. National news, international news. It was like another trial of the century. Because like I said, it kind of had everything. It's a very wealthy, powerful family, like this family dynasty that had taken this spectacular downfall like over the past years, like since the boat crash. And there was so much other shit. And then all of the shit about the other weird deaths like Stephen Smith and Gloria Satterfield that were really suspicious that no one had looked into at the time. So it was just like fucking catnip for the media, and like true crime aficionados and stuff like that were all over this. So it was just like wall-to-wall coverage. And I think the whole thing was televised as well, like the whole trial. I've seen parts of it. I didn't like watch the whole thing. Now, like I said, they didn't really have any physical evidence. They had done gun residue tests like on Alex's hands at the time of the murder, but they were inconclusive. You know what I mean? So they didn't really have anything like, but you know, the aggregate of all of the circumstantial evidence, like, and the fact that he had lied about where he was at the time of the murder, he told other people to lie for him, like his cell phone data, the video, all this other kind of stuff, and it kind of painted a picture, you know what I mean, that he was obviously there a couple minutes before the murders. There wasn't any evidence that anyone else was there, so, you know, it was kind of a foregone conclusion, and they found him guilty. So basically, he's got life in prison. Now, I watched a video that came out 3 days ago, where there's, because obviously he's has never admitted like killing his wife or son.
Yeah, he's not gonna do that.
He admitted to the financial shit.
Yeah.
And he got, you know, a lot of time for that, but he just swears that he's innocent, that he didn't shoot his family. I don't believe it. I think he did.
Fuck no.
But you know, but he just will not admit it. And so yeah, so he got fucking. I love that the judge, when he sentenced him, he basically said, and I quote, "You have no one to blame but yourself." I love that the judge just told him that. I'm like, true. I mean, you spectacularly fucked up your life, my dude. I mean, spectacularly. But I was watching a video that came out 3 days ago, and they are speculating that, you know, he's obviously filing he's a lawyer, so he's going to file like all kind of appeals, and he's saying the jury was tampered with or whatever. Like, he's coming up with some kind of excuse. And the lawyer that was on there said, I hate to say it, but I think he might get another trial. I don't know how that's going to go. As of this live stream, nobody knows, like, if he's going to get another trial or if they're going to go, you know, fuck off, go back to prison. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But whatever happens, I mean, I don't think he's getting out of... Well, he had at least 67 years just for the financial shit. So even if they did appeal and say, oh, he didn't do the murders, he's still not getting out. You know? Because he's found guilty of that other shit too. So they're not letting him out. So, I don't know. Dude seems like a fucking straight up psychopath. Even like all the pictures that they show of him. Like, he always looks like, he's always smiling like this weird, like, kind of psycho two-wide smile. And he has really dark eyes, like his pupils and, you know, the irises are really dark, and then there's like a lot of white, so it almost looks like he's like demon possessed. Like in a lot of the pictures, like his eyes look black, like it's freaky. Like I saw a lot of pictures of him like that, and I was like, God, the dude looks like he's fucking demon possessed. But yeah, so I don't know, man. I kind of feel like this whole, he was obviously a psycho. His son, who, like I said, you know, yeah, I know he got murdered and everything like that. Nobody deserves to get their head blown off. Well, I'm not going to say nobody deserves to get their head blown off, because a couple people do. But it's like, he probably didn't deserve to die like that, even though he was also a fuck up.
He was trying to erase his ass.
Yeah, and I think, and whether or not Buster allegedly killed that kid in 2015, or like just beat that kid to death and he died, I don't know. But it seems like the family was like not. I kind of feel like I heard also that his wife might have been thinking about divorcing him. So I don't know if that also was a factor or if that was a thing.
He maybe didn't want to go.
She might have been all right. I didn't really hear anything bad about her, but
could have been she was trying to bail on him, and all this shit converged. He's like, she's gonna bail on me and take half my shit. This dude's going to prison. Fuck all this. I'm gonna erase all this and blame it on somebody else.
It definitely did seem like he was just going, like he didn't really think it through all that good. Clearly,
was he drunk when they got him?
No. No. He might have been high as balls on opioids, though.
Yeah.
Although I think I don't think he was. He seemed pretty coherent. Like, because there's body cam footage of him.
Yeah.
Like, when the cops showed up at the scene, like, when the bodies were still there. I saw that.
He thought about it. He dreamt this up.
This
is premeditated.
Yeah, I definitely think that he planned to kill his wife and kid. He might have planned to kill the other son too. I don't know. Maybe it just didn't work out. I never really saw anything that said he also planned to kill Buster, because Buster was not at the house. He was someplace else.
Probably, maybe he wasn't after Buster. Buster wasn't a big problem.
Yeah. I think probably the target was probably Paul.
Yeah.
Because the hearing for the boat crash was coming up, and he's like, yeah, we can't have that. We'll just. And I guess he just killed the wife because the wife was also there, and he's just like, oh well, collateral damage. Maybe. Or like I said, maybe Maggie was going to leave him and he was just kind of like, oh, I'll kill two birds with one stone, essentially. I feel like he probably wasn't in the most stable state. Like I said, not excusing it, but I'm sure he wasn't in the most stable state of mind. Like I said, he was a drug addict, and his whole life was falling apart, and he just decided he was going to go this route instead of just facing the music like a normal person would do. And obviously, this failed spectacularly. But like you said, I kind of feel like he'd spent his entire life getting away with shit, and maybe he thought he'd get away with this too, Maybe he was just so used to everyone going along with whatever his narrative was. Because he had, for real, like, covered stuff up for his sons before. And I guess he just thought there was no reason why that couldn't happen again. And if you just keep getting away with stuff, you just do worse and worse shit. Because you just think you're always going to get away with it. So I think that's maybe what he was thinking until it got to a point where he just couldn't get away with shit anymore because it was just too much. But it's just like this fucking... Like I said, when I first heard about this, because I didn't follow this case when it happened. I kind of heard about it, like I said, kind of peripherally, but I didn't really follow it. I was just like, oh, a dude, like, he killed his family or whatever. But I didn't realize, like, all the backstory. I didn't know anything about the boat crash or the other weird murders or, like, him trying to fake his death or anything like that. I don't know. It's like, so I'm watching the Netflix thing, which is like 5 episodes, and I was like, holy shit, it's just getting crazier and crazier. And it's just kind of like fucking tendrils all over the place. It was fucking insane. So I can totally see why there have been at least 3 documentaries about this, because this is a fucking crazy ass story. And everybody loves, I mean, admit it, you do. Everybody loves, like, seeing somebody like this super wealthy, powerful family, like, getting some comeuppance and some consequences, because they get away with shit so much. So seeing something like this, there's almost kind of something satisfying about it. I hate to say that. But it's just kind of like, yep, well, you're finally experiencing consequences like the rest of us losers. How does it feel? Kind of thing. Because I guess he just thought he could keep getting away with shit forever. And he found out that was not the case. But we'll see how this goes. I don't know. Like I said, I was watching that video the other day and, earlier today, and that lawyer said he thought that maybe he would get another trial. But I don't know how much pull he still got in that area after everybody found out what they found out about that family. And after he fucked over so many people and stole all those people's money, I really don't think there's any goodwill left for him in that area. And, you know, rightfully so. You know, it's bad enough that he fucking killed his wife and kid. And then he tried to cover up his kid killing a girl in an accident. But then, like, to have stolen millions and millions of dollars just from regular ass people who went to him for help. I mean, I think people really aren't going to look too kindly on that. So, I think he'll find that... I know that there's some people out there, because there always are, that think he didn't do it, and there's not enough evidence, and blah-de-blah. But, I don't know, man. And honestly, I think that the fact that he tried to stage his own death with that cockamamie scheme, I think that just makes it seem more like he did it. Because who the fuck... Like, what innocent person would do that? You know? Like, would think of something that crazy. Nobody. So, yeah. I totally think he did it. Grandmother says, this was a while back. I took my family to the Waffle House in Lakeland, Florida at 4 a.m. recently. Oh boy, it did not disappoint. Gangsters in the parking lot. Their bitches making a scene inside. Meth heads in the booths. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's Waffle House, all right. You gotta go, though. It's a part of Southern culture you have to experience if you come visit here. Some of them aren't that crazy. Like, some of it's kind of exaggerated. But, like I said, most of the time we went to Waffle House after the club, it was like, it was not scary. I don't think we ever saw... We didn't see any fights, did we? Maybe there was kind of a part, like a half-assed fight out in the parking lot one time. But I don't remember it being that big of a deal. You know?
Talking about fights at
Waffle House.
No, we didn't see any fights at Waffle House.
I don't think so.
Long time ago, we went to Waffle House. After we came back from the club, me and Jim were dressed up, and they had some fucking hooligans fucking going, the Matrix. And I'm like, yeah, bro.
Yeah,
the
Matrix.
way we were dressed up and left. And then the fucking, later on we came back the next day, and the cook says, man, I was having to fight those dudes. They wanted to fight me over fucking me telling them to shut up over fucking yelling about the Matrix. And so we stopped going dressed up for the club to fucking that particular Waffle House.
Probably not safe.
It depends on where the Waffle House is. That particular Waffle House was fucking near like a fucking a hotel. Like the hotel out of that movie that we saw.
Yeah, like the Florida Project.
Like the Florida Project Hotel. It was near one of those.
Yeah, it was like right next door, matter of fact,
Yeah,
if I remember
right
correctly.
next door to fucking one of those hotels where people live in a hotel. Which that's worse than a housing project in Florida. There's nothing but trouble there.
It's all
drug dealers, prostitutes, people in between fucking one step away from prison. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd kind of be scared too. We have been to the one near-ish. Because remember, a couple times we did go to this one, like a few miles up the street after the club, like after we moved here. But we haven't been there. So, like I said, it's kind of out of the way. McDonald's is on the way home, and it's open all night. So we usually just go through there.
Yeah.
And we don't go in. It's closed. So we just go through the drive-thru and just eat in the parking lot. And that's like a much nicer area.
Yeah.
That's next to a hotel too, but it's like a fancy, expensive hotel. It's kind of near where we used to live. But yeah. Scary fucking Waffle House.
No. Waffle House is mostly love. You'll
Yeah.
see, there are videos of people in Florida Waffle House fucking singing in it, drunk as shit, singing in it.
Yeah.
Everybody after the club.
Yeah, because everybody's like I
Yeah.
said, it depends on the vibe and it depends on the kind of people that are in
And
there.
who's in there, yeah.
Like sometimes it might be a really fun experience. Like everyone's just kind of continuing
Yeah.
the club thing. Everyone's singing along and hey, you look great. Hey.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's like that.
It all depends on where you're at.
But you know, you had some troublemakers in there one time.
Yeah.
Remember that one time this wasn't at night, but we were at this one that's closer to us now. We were in there in the late morning, I guess, because it's like, man, let's go to Waffle House and like get some hash browns or something. Like we were kind of hungover, and we went there, And this old dude, like this old boomer, walks in, and we were sitting in the booth, like right near the door. And I think he just kind of said, "Ooh, look at these troublemakers," something like that. And we just kind of looked at him like, "Fuck off," you know what I mean? And then he was like, "So rude, fucking boomers."
Yeah.
Grethner says, when I lived in North Carolina 25 years ago, I used to see prison chain gangs along the highways. Do they still do that in the South?
Yeah.
I think they do. I haven't seen one in a while. Every now and then, you'll see not so much a chain gang, but you'll just see kind of low-level criminals with the high visibility shit on, like just cleaning up the side of the highway or something. But I haven't seen that in a while now that I'm thinking about it. But they still do it. But they're not chained together. They're usually like pretty low security.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of low level. They'll put them out and like clean up and.
Yeah. They're not going to be chained together.
I've never seen that except in the movies.
Yeah, they're gonna be fucking walking down the side of the road picking up garbage.
Yeah, that's what they.
But they're just like doing community service.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's not like serial killers or nothing.
No, that's minor shit.
Yeah.
The guys that are gonna be fucking doing like chain gang type shit, that's gonna be like Angola Penitentiary, out in the middle of nowhere in Louisiana. You won't see them. There's no roads leading to that. That kind of shit. They got them, but you don't want anything. You don't want any sympathy for those dudes. They're fucking murderers, rapists, fucking serial killers. Those dudes have big time. They're usually, those dudes aren't coming back. They got like 30 years plus, 20 years plus, life, that kind of shit.
Yeah, like I said, the ones I saw were just. It was probably just low level shit, like fucking.
Yeah, if you see them on the side of the road, that's little shit.
Yeah, it's probably just like drug possession or shit like that.
Yeah, they're just showing up. They're just showing up for fucking to do their fucking community service for fucking a day, 24 hours, 12 hours, pick up garbage, and they go back. Some of them might be in a local jail, and really they've only got like a couple weeks. Then they're going to be out. Maybe a month or two. There's usually some kind of bullshit charge. Fines. You know. Fucking, they didn't drive without a license. That kind of shit.
Alright, so
yeah,
I've gotten to the end of my notes. So if you have anything you'd like to comment on, please do.
Yeah.
Like I said, I hope I mostly did this case justice because I understand that it was very complicated and there was a lot of incidents, like linked incidents and everything like that. But once I did a deep dive into it, I got like super interested because I didn't know much about it to start with, and I didn't know like the backstory, but because I didn't follow it at the time. But yeah, I'm glad. Like I don't remember who it was that recommended that we do this, but I'm glad you did because I don't know if I ever would have got around to reading about this otherwise. You know what I mean? And I love this kind of shit. But yeah, if you have Netflix, there's a 5-part series on there that's pretty in-depth. That's just called, I think it's just called the Murdaugh Murders. And then there's one on HBO Max, but that one's older. That one's 3 episodes. That's also called Murdaugh Murders, but it's called Deadly Dynasty. And then there's another one on there called Low Country, which I did not get to watch. Because I thought it would just probably cover all the same ground. I'm not sure what year that came out. And there's a Lifetime movie too, but I didn't watch that. So yeah, like I said, this fucking shit was crazy and like all over the place. And I can totally see why everyone was obsessed with it for a little while. But yeah, what you doing there?
I'm talking to fucking Austin, the Conan guy.
Okay, so I guess you want to wrap it up, or
yeah, we're going to wrap it up.
All right, so we are going to wrap up the show for this evening. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Thank you for your super chats. We'll be back on Friday night for the Sidetrack show, which is always fun. We just get drunk and talk about bullshit. I mean, even more than we usually do. Like, there's no topic. And it's always really fun. We're not going anywhere on Friday night, so we can just sit here for several hours and drink with you guys instead of having to rush off to places. Also, it's Mother's Day this weekend, so, you know, hopefully you guys can hang out with your moms if you want to. I'm gonna drive over to Ocala and see my mom, and my sister is coming down from Atlanta. My brothers are gonna be there, so we're just gonna sit around by her pool and eat and bullshit and do stuff like that.
Yeah, we're shutting down the show right now, man. He's worried about fucking getting banned on his channel over shit. It's that they're not as hard as they were a couple years back. Me and Jen have said all kinds of shit, and really, there's been no repercussions. Like you can say rape, you can say that. We've said it before when we were covering cases, and we didn't get.
Yeah, it
blocked or
depends
banned.
on one. It depends on the platform. YouTube did go through a period where they would demonetize you for stupid shit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they're just not demonetizing like they were.
honestly, like for the past couple years,
Yeah.
I have not really had any videos demonetized. The only
Yeah.
time I had one demonetized was not anything to do with anything we said. It was just that we played part of a song
Yeah.
and we got a copyright strike.
Yeah.
And so they demonetized it because of that.
Yeah, that's really all you have to worry about.
But
And you don't have to worry
and
about
we talk a lot about true crime. So we're talking about like murder,
Yeah.
torture, rape, like all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And I nothing's been demonetized.
Yeah, and there isn't any real people doing the fucking moderation anymore. It's AI, and the AI is getting better. It knows the topic you're talking about, so you know what I mean. It knows you're doing a true crime show.
It seems to.
So-
Like we've talked about really fucked up stuff.
Yeah, and
Really fucked up cases.
we never got demonetized.
I haven't been demonetized for a
Yeah.
long time.
I know.
Like I said, other than like a copyright strike for like part of a song. Like, because I think you played part of a video that had like part of a song on it when I got demonetized because of that. But like for topic shit, hasn't happened for ages. Used to happen all the time, but I haven't had that happen for at least a couple of years. So it must have gotten a lot better, like a lot smarter, I suppose. But yeah, so we are going to. Sorry, I'm getting better, but I still keep like coughing every now and then. But I can't believe I got sick the second fucking time.
It's ridiculous.
That never happens.
It's ridiculous.
I don't get sick for like years and years, and then I get sick like twice in a month. Like I don't understand what happened. Maybe that GLP-1 is suppressing my immune system. I don't know what it's doing. But yeah. All right, so have a good rest of your evening, you guys. Have a good day tomorrow. We will see you guys again for the Sidetrack show on Friday night. Hope you guys can all make it. Good